to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got.
All right, who's ready to pump it up today? Anybody? Anybody in chat? Thank you all also for the condolences for my lost puppy of 15 and a half years. She is a sweetie, and I'll miss her. We are going to make a lot of money in the next couple days, weeks, months, quarters. It's going to be exciting. All right, let's look here. So we're going to talk about stuff that we've predicted. We predicted this. We predicted that gold was going to make a perfect measured move, and it did that. We predicted that gold was going to bounce off, or I'm sorry, Bitcoin was going to bounce off its 4+ year trend line and break out higher and make a W bottom, and then its measured move would get us up towards the 96,000, 97,000 mark and above and ready for launch, and it did that. We told you throughout numerous posts, so many posts, just going back through over the last week, that the S&P and the NASDAQ were set up for a beautiful bounce. And the NASDAQ closed with the highest volume candle ever in the history of it yesterday, and one of the best bounces going back 25+ years. And we predicted that. And again, just numerous posts going back. Also, we predicted the top of gold, which it has hit. We're at 32.11 right now. We got China selling gold. Who knew? We predicted a lot of stuff. A lot of predictions that have come true as of recent here. And that's pretty exciting. We're going to be talking about Trump and just how much winning has happened over the last 100 days. But first, before that, let's go to our favorite subject, tariffs. Yeah, it sucks losing my dog. I realized my wife and daughter were out doing some of my daughter's extracurricular activities yesterday. And when they were gone, I realized my dog wasn't here for the first time in a while. It was kind of weird. You know, I didn't realize that that I'm alone now, you know, when they go out and do stuff. So it's very strange. All right, tariffs. Back at it. I said it sucks not to be Tesla, Rivian, or Ford. You got GM cutting their 2025 guidance, warrants to up to $5 billion tariff hit. It sucks to be heavily leveraged towards China. Bill Mitchell. If we were buying so much crap from China that having a trade war with them throws our entire nation into a recession, runaway inflation, that's a problem, isn't it? Are we far too dependent upon China, who is not our friend or ally? What happens if China attacks Taiwan? Again, we have to be doing what we're doing. I hope people understand that. For the people trying to shut down the tariffs, you lost. Sorry. Go fuck yourself. Tariffs. Steve Burns says tariffs trade uncertainty peaked. Trade policy uncertainty may have peaked. It did peak. I should add that in my prediction section. Let me do that. Oh, shoot. I hit the button without saving it. Bye. All right. We'll just have to remember that one. Byron Wan. China has signaled that as a nation, it is better able to tolerate the pain of prolonged tariffs. But cracks are starting to show, suggesting how deeply that pain is already setting into across the country. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I do 100% agree with that. Also, guys, we had Eunice Yoon this morning talking about Chinese. The Chinese have said that the U.S. is open, keeps reaching out to them about negotiations, and that they might start those. And Eunice basically indicated, keep in mind she is in Beijing, that, this is posturing, and that they're using it as an opportunity to be able to work with the United States. So you got it from Eunice. We also have Ford CEO. Let's see what he has to say about tariffs and their impact.
We're building a new plant in Ohio and Tennessee. We're number 2 to Tesla and electric. We're number 3 to hybrid to both the Japanese competitors. We're investing across these different kinds of powertrains. We're kind of the only one who offers all of it. You can get electric F-150, a hybrid F-150, a V8 F-150, EcoBoost F-150, and we don't really care.
All right, that's cool. I like Jim Farley. They're still going to be, they're way behind. But it doesn't matter. At least they're smart enough. He's smart enough to recognize Elon Musk's talent, and he latch onto that as quickly as he possibly could. And he's going to be one of the car companies that might actually make it. You got to remember, Ford is the only car company outside of Tesla that hasn't went bankrupt. So maybe he stands a chance still. Maybe Tesla can still help him along. Man Mahindra, thank you very much, my friend. Hardest working. I don't want to say kid, but what are you, 19? So to me, that's a kid. But very much appreciate all you do, man. You're going to go places in life. I can tell you that much. Looking over in the bottom right corner, you can see how Bitcoin is getting ready to break out of the red resistance zone that we marked a very long time ago. We've got Ukraine. I didn't summarize anything. We got Ukraine signing the mineral deal. We'll talk about that in a second. We got the Wall Street Journal was lying about Elon. Everybody was asking me about Elon stepping down and then finding a replacement. And it's like, it's bullshit. And it was. Who knew? We got Bitcoin reserves spinning up everywhere. Cities, states, all around the world. It's exciting. I already said China dumping gold. And we got MicroStrategy earnings this afternoon, of which I will be partaking. So we will have a fun little breakdown beforehand. And be talking about synthetic halving. If you haven't heard synthetic halving, that should be on my prediction list. That is the new halving. The old halving means nothing anymore. It's sad. I kind of miss it. Every 4-year trend was so exciting, and it's just gone now. It's just going to be gone. I mean, it'll still exist, right? We'll have reduced production, cut in half. That is a thing. It is impactful. But just not what it used to be. The synthetic halving is what it's all about now. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Trump. So, man, Mahindra, again, 19 years old. Fuck. I'm jealous. Want China to do well. Want every country to do well. Fairness with China includes intellectual property. Don't want China's production or products unless they're fair. Hope will make a deal with China and talking to them. At a certain point, hope for a deal with China. Saddened to hear China is getting absolutely hammered. No, China is doing very poorly right now. Tariffs haven't kicked in yet. So he's saying the real pain hasn't kicked in yet. Also, Europe is tariffing China. Did you guys know this? The European Commission has imposed duties of up to 66.7% on imports of Chinese machines that lift construction workers after concluding that the producers were benefiting from unfair subsidies and selling at artificially low prices. The extra duties, we don't call them tariffs, so that makes it okay, on Chinese mobile access equipment will range from 20 to 66.7 as it sought to protect domestic producers in the EU market. All this protectionism, 41%. What is going on here, Europe? I thought you guys were all Team China, and you're dutying them. But I guess if you just apply a bunch of duty, it's not a tariff. That's all that matters. So now you know, guys. Now we gotta call it duties. That's it. Trump moves to ease automaker pain. We won't go into all the details. That's in other sections, but it's essentially hugely beneficial to Tesla. It keeps Rivian alive, which I think is good. We want another competitor to Tesla. And Ford alive too. Not many others. 05 Jake, I like this guy too. I like you guys with smaller accounts. 73 accounts, has a YouTube channel he's working on, or 73 followers. He's a good dude. And he's got good comments. He said this honestly is a good idea, forces business to actually make supply changes out of China. So this was talking about Lutnik saying 2 years was agreed upon to give manufacturers sufficient time to build out the supply chain. There is no third year of relief. I 100% agree with that. What does it say here? When will people realize that real Donald Trump isn't caving on China and that a deal might not come for a while? I'm still sticking to that, even though we're hearing a lot about it. This full interview with Howard Lutnik was brilliant. People have been shitting on Howard Lutnik. I get Navarro. Navarro's kind of an idiot. But I don't understand shitting on Howard Lutnik. He is one of the most brilliant people around. He has over 400 plus patents. He gets Bitcoin. He's a billionaire. He lost, what was it, a third or half of his fucking company in the 9/11 attacks, and was lucky enough to live through that because he was for a change, going to pick or drop off his kid at school. So he's a good man, and people should treat him with respect, and it disgusts me that they don't. We have Kevin Hassett, also a good man, talking in about 15 minutes. So we'll jump to that. Make sure you guys remind me. Otherwise, I should see him popping up on my screen. Apple didn't stay in China by choice. China trapped them. I think I kind of briefly went over this before, but essentially they made it to where it was really impossible to get their equipment out of China, giving them 4-month lead times on stuff that would normally get approved in days, if not a week. And again, 400 patents. 400 patents Howard Lutnik has, and people treat him with disrespect. India government. Indian U.S. officials meet Washington. Bilateral trade talks make massive progress. And then again, Lutnik says he has a trade deal approved. We got IBM doing $150 billion in investing. We had a lot of talk about that. We got talks from Jensen Huang that we'll go over in other sections. Let's jump into the U.S. economy. And sorry, I haven't looked at chat too much. Morning, everybody. I do see you, and I try to read it while I'm doing all this other stuff. Sorry about the loss of your pup. Thank you, Jeff. Gary says, good morning. Can BTC break 100K by next Monday? Sure. It could do it today if the news is positive enough. We do have data coming out. Let's just look at some of that real quick and refresh. So we do have jobs-related data. We got Challenger job cut. Oh, I missed that even. Let's go in here. Challenger job cuts. So this was lower than expected. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? Doesn't that go against the narrative? So previous was 275,000 job cuts. The forecast was 290. We got 105. That is fucking low as can be. So everybody's expecting the sky to fall, and it just came back. It just came back. No falling sky. Falling job cuts, no falling sky. Isn't that funny? The world is not ending. Huh. Initial jobless claims. Previous was 222. Consensus is 224. Forecast 225. We'll see that in a little bit. 7:30. That's about 35 minutes from now. 33, actually. And then we got the jobless 4-week average. We got S&P Global Manufacturing. We got that in Canada, too. We got ISM Manufacturing. That'll be a big deal. We got construction spending. Gosh, I would expect this number to be a good one. We'll see. Previous 0.7, only forecast for 0.2 and 0.3. New orders, manufacturing prices, those could be up. Probably will be up. Maybe. We got steel and other things going down, but yeah, we should see. This is April. It's going to be interesting. Probably up. Morning, Jesse. Josh Mandel had another vision, 18 MNAV or 1818 price on MicroStrategy. All right, guys. So Josh Mandel, our prophet, has told us that 818 on MicroStrategy, 18 MNAV or 1818. Those are very different things. Fascinating. I like Josh, man. He's a good dude. All right, so let's keep rolling though. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get through it all. I want to go to this real quick. Okay, I want to go to this real quick, and then we're going to get back to the U.S. economy. Yeah, I saw that Ford. Yeah, that's a good one, man. We'll talk about that in a second. I got that bookmarked already. So I want you guys to see this because I believe that some things are divine. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that there's things that I don't understand and I don't know what they are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do believe that, I believe there are things we just don't know. Nobody knows. Some people have died and come back to life. They talk about things. They could be chemical. They could be just process related. They could be real. I don't know. Spirituality for me is a loose subject because I just don't know anything. I've researched so much of it and I don't know anything about it. But I do believe that there are times where things just align and there is truth to be found. We can see that from the astrological signs of Bitcoin charting and all this charting stuff, right? There's a truth in the Fibonacci sequence. There's a truth in just things that we can't fully grasp. And I think this is one of them. So let's listen to this. Elon reposted this. It's about Trump and Elon and history. Let's listen to it.
The one thing I didn't ask you that I really want to ask you just personally, how crazy is it that you're working with, can you just roll this?
Let me put this back on.
This is just a personal thing. How crazy is it that you are working with Elon Musk, today's Tesla?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when Tesla died, it was your genius uncle that was sent to try to figure out what papers should be kept.
Isn't it great?
How crazy is that?
Actually, so my uncle was a great, brilliant man, my father's brother. My father was working very hard to put my uncle through MIT and all that. And when my uncle graduated, he was so brilliant that MIT said, why don't you stay here and become a professor?
It's crazy.
Which is pretty good. He 3 different degrees.
Yeah.
He really was amazing. But as he went through life, he was very successful as a professor at MIT, but he was also very successful at other things, like discovering genius things. And the United States government...
I want to hold up on that. Discovering genius, what he said right there. I believe that that's a gift that Trump has and that few people seem to realize is his ability to discover genius and recognize genius. That's actually a gift that I have too, and I don't know how I got it or why I have it, but I can siphon through bullshit, and it's like an aura that I can see genius and have ultimate confidence in it. And anyway, let's keep going.
Government gave him an assignment of finding out whether or not Mr. Tesla was the real deal or was he not the real deal. In other words, was he really great or was he just an average guy? And my uncle did a report on it, and you know what was nice? He said he was really great. A lot of people in that position would be jealous.
Yeah.
But he actually said he was great.
And here you are working with today's Tesla.
That's right.
That's so
right.
great.
And Elon's a great guy too.
Yeah.
I just think there's so much in that's just amazing. Just how things come around over and over again. How Trump and Elon fought with each other in the first administration, and then he jumped off his technological board, and then Trump didn't have any of the right people around him, and then somehow, after Trump almost gets killed a couple of times, which again, you could, spiritual or not, it's amazing that he lived through that. He shouldn't have lived through it for so many reasons. And or even the next assassination attempt. And who knows how many others might have been thought of too that couldn't get accomplished. And then Elon grabs onto him, and then these two work together in like a beautiful symbiotic relationship. It's just interesting. My buddy Seth, he probably pissed off a lot of Warren Buffett people. I could tell he was getting ready for it because he turned off replies, and he doesn't always do that. But he said all that cash ending in 2024 missed 5% to the top and 11% from the 2025 bottom. Quote, yeah, but he didn't suffer the 20% drop from the top. In order to get a return on capital, capital has to be put to work. There was no signal from Buffett's 25-year-long growing cash pile. So again, he did buy in the recession. He did a small amount of buying in the pandemic, very small. But the dollars keep going up. He's capturing value and just dividends. I don't know. I just look at this as like a very lazy way to make money and not thoughtful. And I think the best days of Warren Buffett are behind him. On that note, he's going to be talking on Saturday, and I'll probably be listening attentively, or at least following up later on, maybe at 2x, 3x or something, so I can grind through it really quickly because he's getting older and I'm getting faster, so I gotta move quick. But I will be listening to him because I think he was great at what he did. Here's the thing that I disagree with a lot of people and probably piss off a lot of people about Buffett. I've read tons of books about him. He's from the Midwest. I've actually seen his house. I think he's an all around good person, but the things he invests in aren't necessarily good for humanity and never really have been. They're very just making money. And same with Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is very much about making money too, or was. Sorry, Charlie. But I don't know. I don't think that's the key to life. I don't. Money is helpful. It's a tool. But I don't look at people that just have tons of money and go, oh my God, they're so amazing. They're not. They're super flawed people in most cases, just like everybody else. They just have more dollars. And so I don't look at him with like great admiration. I just don't. He was good at what he did. He could look at financials and figure out which companies are going to be cash cows and which aren't. But did he better humanity? Was his focus a good one? I mean, does Buffett does he have kids? I don't remember. Maybe. It just seems like, I don't know. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be this. I want to invest in things that make the world a better place. That's why I'm in Bitcoin. That's why I'm in Tesla and so many other things. I want the world to be a better place, and that's my primary driving factor. And then I use my tools to make money so that I can help with that, and maybe other people too. That's my ambition. We do have about, I don't know, we should be having Hassett talking. Let me see. He's not quite there yet, so we'll keep going. Yeah, right? I never hear about them. I never hear about them. I think he's got a couple, but I never hear about them. I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be really sad to me if I'm in my 90s and the things I still talk about are just making money. It would be very sad, I think. James E. Thorne says, for the record, let's cut to the chase. The so-called growth over the past few years was a mirage fueled by reckless, unsustainable government spending. The Fed's misguided rate hikes were a blunder, raising rates to tame inflation that wasn't even driven by the private sector in the first place. It was government funded. These aggressive hikes crushed the interest-sensitive private sector, which was already slowing down. Again, just hurting us. Talk about that dumb bitch Janet Yellen. Her and the Fed weren't very helpful. The U.S. economy is primarily service-based, with imports making up 14% of GDP. Recessions aren't caused by tariffs. They're triggered by massive shocks. Sure, tariffs slow growth, but they don't cause persistent inflation. Again, it's the persistent inflation that is bad, okay? That's the bad thing. That you don't want that. A one-time price shock is different. It might modify spending habits, but it's not like it's this cascading event that leads you to perpetual inflation like in the 70s. It's just not true. Anybody who's read the work of Milton Friedman gets this to a degree, or many, many others that have come before him. The recent GDP numbers, it says, tarnished by Trump's tariffs, both on imports and on businesses rushing to hedge against them. Again, the real GDP number is actually going up, guys, not down. And the Fed, it's late to the party. We'll look at that in a little bit. Interest rates should be at neutral, and quantitative tightening have been halted a long time ago. Instead, we're witnessing reckless incompetence. The Fed's actions have been a textbook case of blundering at the worst possible time. I wouldn't even call it blundering. I would just call it politically motivated because, again, 90+% of the Fed are liberal. And so there's no independence in the Fed. It's bullshit. Growth is slowing. Liquidity is increasing. The Fed will be forced to cut. The playbook is clear. I've been saying this the whole time, that Trump would push the Fed's hand and that Powell doesn't matter and that what matters is Scott Bessent and that they will have to cut rates. I've been saying this the whole fucking time. I hope some of you are listening. Man Mahindra, age 70. Let's go up a little bit. Yes, he has kids. Don Buffett has 3 kids. Man Mahindra, Warren's eldest child is 68. Kirby text, he's not giving a penny of inheritance to his kids. Yeah, I don't know. What's he going to do with it? Just donate to a bunch of liberal causes? Yeah, what do you think of Bezos and how he spends his money? I think it's just as disgusting, right? If you're buying a $350 million yacht, or whatever, $500 million, whatever it is, and just parting your days away at his age, I think is pretty ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. It's easy to do that path, right? It's easy to be superficial, get rid of your old wife, import a new one with some big tits and lips, and then just party the rest of your days away. That's easy. And I respect what he's built, but I don't respect where he is at that point in his life. I think it's a waste of energy. I think there's much greater things that you could do with your life with a lot of money to better the world. than what he's doing. At the same time, though, I don't love, I don't love people that are trying to better the world in horrific ways, right? Like, I don't know, Microsoft CEOs. So it just all depends. If you're going to be like a Microsoft CEO, Bill Gates, maybe just get a big boat and be fucking lazy and stupid. That's probably better. Concord, Buffett did very well for the time. His growth peaked, or his wealth growth peaked. His strategy has shifted appropriately for his age. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair, Concord. No, totally fair. I agree. Steak and eggs, Jesse, I believe you better perceive the full value of time and release that's our life's clock is ticking last minute by minute, relationships over money all day. Yeah, relationships and just making the world a better place. Maybe leave the world better than you came into it in whatever way you can, whether big or small. That's what I think people should be doing. Kevin Hassett, they're talking about him coming up. Maybe we'll get him in a second. Concord, Elon Musk isn't a big spender, very humble, which is why I admire him so much. I don't know if I could give up the big luxury houses to work all the time, but he does it, right? He does it because he wants to better humanity, and I think that's admirable. JT, did someone say TA's good morning from Taiwan? Good morning from Taiwan. Good morning, Taiwan. We love you guys. We're going to try and protect you guys for a long time. That's why we're being so tough on China right now, is because we love freedom and we love countries like Taiwan. U.S. economy, let's keep going. Still waiting on Hassett. Lots of people will miss this ride and FOMO in later. This is the AAII bears percentage at the highest level going back to the fucking 80s. And so there's so many people caught off guard by this. All these people. Again, I want to reiterate, I was right. They were wrong. I'm not saying that to be super braggadocious, maybe a little mildly braggadocious. I'm saying that because there's people that you need to make sure that you listen to at times of turmoil, and there's people that are just noise that will waver in the wind and say, 50-50, I'll go either way, because they don't have any true conviction. And when I say conviction, I'm not talking about like religious fervor. I'm talking about conviction from knowing that you are right because you've done your homework. And so all these people all these bears, highest on record, they will lose greatly. And thank you to my subscribers. I'm going to start posting more subscriber-only stuff because I believe that, I don't know, I want to support the people that support me, and the others can just hang out with these bears and lose all their fucking money. Overton. I like that. Do you guys know what the Overton window is? Does anybody in chat know what that is? I really like the Overton window. I'm routinely beyond it. It's just what the masses are willing to believe and accept. And I've never fallen in line with it ever in my life, which is probably why I'm so successful at what I'm doing right now, is because I'm not a sheep. Real quickly, Scott Besant, let's listen here.
One of the most powerful parts of President Trump's 2017 tax bill was full expensing of equipment. We are going to make that, as President Trump said in his speech to Congress, that will be retroactive to January 20th. The other thing that we are looking...
This is so good. This is so good. And I've got a lot of things to talk about that interrelate with this on how we're going to increase revenues too.
To add is full expensing for factories. So bring your factory back. You can fully expense the equipment and the building. We will couple that with deregulation, cheap energy, and regulatory certainty, and that will continue to make the U.S. the greatest destination for domestic and foreign investment.
We're going to talk about that more later because it's so important. But right now, it looks like Kevin Hassett's up in the ring. So we're going to listen to our Hassett here.
Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Kevin, thanks for joining us. It's good to have you on. We have our person over in China, Eunice Yoon. We talked about this quite a bit earlier.
And again, Eunice basically said that China is posturing so that they can cut a deal because they are in pain. She admitted to all of that.
The way that China is
not easy to do when you're a reporter in Beijing.
Is characterizing what happened, the possible reasons why China is characterizing it that way, and we're looking for sort of the the unvarnished truth of what's going on, and we know both sides have their story. It comes on the same day, Kevin, that we're seeing that things are not so great. China said that they can easily handle what's going on, but you're already seeing some pretty large cracks. But when they said this today, they said, "Oh, the United States can't take it," and they've come with hat in hand, groveling to see us. What's our take on that? The administration, in other words.
Yeah, our take on it is that the United States is ready for any eventuality, and we're hopeful for progress. The fact is that China has been acting poorly in the past on trade. We've responded accordingly. We're very pleased to see that last week China pulled back a bunch of tariffs on U.S. products, perhaps at a show of good faith. And so I'm hopeful that Secretary Bassett, who's shown how good he can be at this by closing the Ukraine deal, is going to be able to help make progress with our Chinese friends. Now, certainly there have been kind of loose discussions all over both governments, and I think that the fact that the tariffs came off last week shows that we're very close to making the kind of progress we need to move the ball forward.
And you actually say you don't know whether you assume the president has talked to President Trump has talked to President Xi, but you're not willing to say outright that phone call occurred. But it's
President
been
Trump
a very
communicates about those, but I can tell you that I personally have not spoken with the Chinese.
All right, that we always get sort of a dodge. Yeah. You know the expression that success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan. In recent days, there's been like some confusion about who's handling China. And over the weekend or previous to this, Secretary Bassett said, "I have talked to China, but not about tariffs." Then Lutnik said he's in charge. And you tell me, you are saying without any question that the president has asked Bassett to lead the tariff negotiations with China?
Of course.
But yeah, make it 100% clear.
To be clear, and I know this, so I don't know why CNBC doesn't know this, Bassett is in charge of China. Lutnik is in charge of the rest. Lutnik, I think, already has a deal with India, but it has to go through their version of the parliament and all these other things in order to be able to be approved. But they're at a deal. And Bassett is the perfect person to have working with China because he's very cool and not facially and gesture with gestures, like emotional, like Lutnik is. Lutnik, though, gets shit done, but he's not the right person for China. And I think the divide was very smart. Lutnik is the B team. I love Lutnik. I hate it when people say that Lutnik's a piece of shit or stupid or whatever. I think that's just idiocy. The man has over 400 fucking patents. He's brilliant, and he's doing a great job, and he's a true American patriot, so I wish people would give him a fucking break. But the masses, for some reason, seem to want to shit-talk him. So whatever. Those people will do whatever they want to do, and then the herd will follow. But I think he's fucking wonderful. And I think Bassett is brilliant, too. His demeanor is just much cooler and calmer. 1 second here. Sorry, I had to say goodbye to my daughter. But I think he's brilliant. But I do think that, and again, I don't understand why this is even a question. Bassett is in charge of China. He said that multiple times. Do people actually ever listen to these fucking people? I don't believe so. I think they listen to sound bites and get their fucking decision-making skills from those.
That this
100%.
trade team, 100%, this trade team is unified. We get along. I've been in meetings with Secretary Lutnik and Secretary Bassett and Jameson Greer yesterday, all over the place, in the ovals. And everybody collegially is divvying up on a massive amount of work. And Secretary Lutnik and Jameson Greer are making progress with numerous countries. I think it's more than 20 now, where we actually have hard offers on the table. And I spent about an hour in my office yesterday where Secretary Lutnik was talking about all the progress that they're making. And I actually want to characterize it for a second, which is that one of the top asks for us is just, if we sell something in the U.S., then your country should let us sell it into your country too. Stop all these non-tariff barriers. We're making great progress on that. And Secretary Bassett, as Treasury Secretary, who's, as you know, in the food chain, very, very highly ranked U.S. official, and he is the appropriate person, given the stakes, to be negotiating with the Chinese.
Exactly. And And this is what Trump is good at, okay? He's good at seeing brilliance. He's good at seeing where people's talents lie. And then he's good at empowering those people to do well. That's what every fucking leader is. If you want a leader, you want them to have these qualities.
Chinese right now, and that's something that was agreed to by the president, by Secretary.
It's so funny to me. I used to be a manager, and one of the things I realized is there are people that suck at managing, and you know why? Because they're really brilliant, but they don't see brilliance, and they aren't willing to let go of things in order to be able to promote others that maybe haven't been proven in something, but you can see a glimpse of it, right? And so what I think made me a better manager is I promoted people up underneath of me, and I talked them up in front of my bosses, in front of peers, and in front of other parts of the organization for wherever I was. Because when you see people doing great things, or you think that they can be great at something, you should help promote them. That's a good leader. And not everybody's good leaders. You could be super smart, you could be very articulate, you could have emotional intelligence, and you're going to be the shittiest fucking leader out there because you don't have the common sense to let other people do what they need to do and then support them and promote them.
Terry Lutnik, by everybody on the trade team.
It just seemed, now, maybe he was talking at the time about whether he had engaged China on tariffs, but it seemed a little bit ambiguous when he said, yeah, I'm in contact with China a lot, but about other issues other than tariffs. It wasn't a dodge necessarily, but it didn't seem like like he grabbed it with both hands and said, yeah, this is up to me. And that's why I said the success has, maybe it wasn't going as quickly as hoped. And, success, once again, many fathers, but suddenly failure is an orphan. So he's been in charge all along.
There are not many fathers. There's one team, and everybody talks together about what's going to happen. What are we doing? What's the position that the president thinks is best for this or that? And there's no way that, as we talk about China, that you're not going to see everybody on that team in the room.
Hey, Kevin, many on Wall Street, different firms have put together real analyses.
To be clear, in about 7 minutes, we're gonna have more details on the economic calendar here. So all the big stuff is coming out in 7 minutes.
I should say, of what the tariffs will.
Also, somebody asked earlier the breakout point for Bitcoin. It's actually 96.6. If we get above 96.6, turn that into support. It's off to the moon. I think we're hitting 100K today, honestly.
Mean for growth, for employment, for all those things, and they have made lots of different estimates and assumptions and things like that.
Dorkin's
and
all
that's
right.
something historically that your group has done.
Dorkin has a purpose. I'm not sure what it is, but he has one.
For all sorts of things. Have you done that yet? And can you share those numbers with us?
Oh, just to be clear, Aaron, and to avoid any confusion, I'm director of the National Economic Council now, which is the Larry Kudlow job. Now, I used to be the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, and that's Steve's job now. And Steve has a team of something like 40 PhD economists who are both already, if you go to their website, you can see they're putting out public reports about
there you go.
The effects, I think the most recent one, of extending the tax cuts on the economy. And absolutely, they're doing research on tariffs. Yes, for sure, Steve's service.
But there has not been a report. Is there a report or any genuine analysis that you've been either engaged in, involved in?
If you look, guys, Bitcoin's creeping up. We're getting to 96.4. Today is the breakout day.
Inside the White House that discusses if we pursue these tariffs at these levels, this is what happens to economic growth. This is what happens to employment. Yes. All of the kind of basic things that I think the public so desperately wants to better understand.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% we have, Aaron. And the way to think about it is that every year, White House puts out a budget. And in the budget, you have to say, over the next 10 years, here's what's going to happen, here's what growth's going to be, and here's what the president's policy priorities are. And if those policies are realized, here's what happens to economic growth. And that analysis will come out when the president releases his budget. But for sure, every single thing from tariffs to spending to taxes, the big beautiful bill, all of that stuff has been very carefully modeled by Steve and his
But just
team
so we're
at
clear,
CEA.
the tariff piece...
And I'll be clear too, Aaron, that the growth rate is going to be very similar or higher to what you saw when we were doing the budgets in 2017.
The great Aaron Sorkin, by the way, I should mention, the great Aaron Sorkin wrote a terrific show about the West Wing. which you now exist in. I did not write The West Wing, though I wish I could say I did.
Right.
So Andrew
The show or the building?
Well.
Hey, Kevin, we're talking about trying to pay for all these other things that, they're in the big, beautiful bill. You want to extend the 2017 I assume you want to extend it as is, but we're hearing, and it happened again today, and we had Scalise on, and we had Chairman Smith on. They won't take that a new higher top tax bracket for people making over $1 million of 40%, or letting it go back to 39.6. They won't take that off the table. I saw the president say he doesn't want to do that. Whenever we have these people on, they say everything is on the table. Can you provide any clarity there? Is everything on the table? Would you go back and one of the main tenets of that, you argue was a very successful outcome from that bill, would you change one of the basic? That was a very important part of that bill. Are you going to go back on that?
It was a very important part of the bill. President Trump has made it clear that he doesn't support that movement, and right now Congress House and Senate are working collegially together to move towards a bill that everybody agrees on. I was there with Secretary Bassett helping to have a conversation with the majority leader and the speaker and Chairman Crapo and Jason Smith at Ways and Means just on Monday. And the amount of agreement was really close to 95%. Now, there's some stuff that are House priorities that the Senate doesn't have, some stuff that are Senate priorities that the House doesn't have. And then there's our priorities, which it seems like everybody agrees with, at least when they talk to us to our faces. And so I think we're making an enormous amount of progress. And the idea that we get a bill passed by, say, early July at the latest is very, very, very likely.
Beautiful.
Let me ask you this. Kevin, is it going to be scored, whatever comes out? Are you going to have to fall back on the growth is going to take care of any of these big numbers that the CBO scores it with? Because at this point, if you extend the tax cuts,
I hate the CBO.
And you do all the
Such
other
bullshit.
things that the president has been talking about, with tips and Social Security, I mean, the CBO, if they just put the numbers in, what's going to come out on the other side is a huge deficit-busting plan. Now, we've had people on that just keep talking about, well, there's going to be growth. There's going to be growth. Ignore that. There's going to be growth. Ignore that. How are you going to pay for it? Is there any other way to do it? And tell me about Medicaid and what you'll cut, what you'll propose, and whether it's an actual cut or just a slowdown in the increase.
Yeah, okay, so basically on the tax side, we've been working very carefully to make sure that the tax bill, as designed by people in the Finance and Ways and Means committees and approved by the White House, satisfies the congressional rules that rely on CBO scoring. And so the chance that somebody's going to be ambushed by the CBO at the last minute and that's going to upend the bill, that's just wrong.
Because nobody gives a shit about the CBO because it's absolute bullshit. I'm going to probably skip with Hassett here. We'll see if there's any more news because we do have data coming out in about a minute and a half. I'm going to mute this real quick and let it play out, and I'll still watch it. And if anything interesting comes up, we'll talk about it. We will be talking more about this. I don't want to leave this topic because this is really important. The things we're doing to incentivize foreign companies to invest in the United States or ones here to invest in the United States is huge. And on top of that, we're going to start deriving revenue from interesting sources that we're going to talk about today as well. I'm actually going to refresh because I want to cover that in a little bit. But let's get back over here. We got about 1 minute until we get additional jobs data. So that's just the jobs side. Then comes PMI for Canada at 8:30 at the opening bell. And then at 8:45, PMI for the United States. And then at 9, ISM and construction and all the good stuff. I will stick around for that. So I'll stick around till 9 today, and then I'm going to boogie right after that. CNBC's turning into a waste of time. They are, for the most part, a waste of time. The only thing, there's interviews with them that are interesting and that I enjoy listening to and that provide value. But outside of that, most of it is garbage. Most of it is just trash and not worth any time. The interviews are really some of the key part. That's the reason I pay for the premium membership. Thank you guys, too, to everybody that's here. I don't know how many we have. Let me see here. 1,025 people. I appreciate you guys for being a part of this. Let's look over here. We should have the data refreshing in a second, about 15 seconds. We should be getting data, and we'll see what happens with that and see if these help. If the numbers are really high, it's going to be a reason for the Fed to cut. It's a win-win. Let's just put it that way. These numbers can't be bad. If they don't show a lot of firings, then it's a bonus because it shows our economy is still strong. And if they show a lot of firings, it means the Fed's going to cut rates. So there is no bad number when it comes to jobs right now. I personally would rather see the number strong because I believe in playing from positions of strength, not weakness. And it looks like, let's see here, the number is a little high, maybe. Oh, not too bad. Let me get back over here. So continuing jobless claims or initial jobless claims are high. So this is the starting point. This tells us that we might be seeing some concerns in the future at the beginning point of jobs getting weak. Now, this is after a conflicting report of the Challenger job cuts showing way less than expected number of job cuts. So they might balance themselves out. Continuing jobless claims are a little bit higher too, higher than consensus and forecast. And jobless claims 4-week average are slightly higher too. Let's start looking at some of these and comparing them to the previous trends. So if we go out here 3 years, this doesn't actually look crazy. If it started to tick up for the next month, in the next month, that's where this will become more, dangerous. But again, that will actually push the Fed to do what they need to do, which is lower rates. So I can't even look at it as a loss. If we look at the continuing jobless claims, this is an important number, though. So if we go over here to the 3-year, this is the highest number of jobless claims. Let's go to 5 years. We can't really get before that, but if we look, it's probably 2021 numbers. So the continuing jobless claims are the ones to be worried about. We're seeing a higher tick up. We're seeing something that's higher than the last several years. But again, this is a good reason for the Fed to cut interest rates, which the market might see as a positive today after they initially reject and aren't happy about these numbers. I think that's the way it's going to play out. Jobless claims 4-week average, again, ticking up, but nothing like what we saw here in March. I mean, these were higher and then comparable to what we had at the end of December, and then nothing compared to what we had in October, July, June. I mean, the numbers were all higher but this is further down the chain, right? So the initial jobless claims, the Challenger job cuts, these are the kind of things that we're going to want to look at going forward to determine whether or not we've got problems here. But I do expect, I'm not going to lie, I mean, jobs are going to be something that get hit. It's kind of impossible not to. Anybody telling you that tariffs don't have any impact on the United States is lying to you. There will be impact, okay? It's just I believe that the good is going to far outweigh the bad, and I believe we'll have this stuff ending, and I believe we've seen peak tariff fears. I believe we've seen the bottom of the market. I think I've done a really good job of articulating why all these things are true. Now, again, having both American companies and companies overseas being able to expense off everything is fucking beautiful. This is beautiful. This is what we want. And I want to touch on a lot of things that have been happening over the last several days. Microsoft and their CapEx expenditures still incredibly high. Meta raising theirs. European investors, everybody was talking about how China was dumping our treasuries, right? It wasn't them. Flows to foreign domiciled U.S. equity ETFs and mutual funds by region. So foreign domiciled U.S. equity and ETFs and mutual funds. So this isn't treasuries, but this is just investment equities, essentially, and ETFs. But look at this. Europe, these emotional little bitches over here were the ones selling our stuff. They were mad about Trump. They're so liberal and woke. They're like, fuck this shit. We're selling it all. Fuck America. They're gone. And but you know who wasn't doing that? China, even Canada, the UK, Japan, and other. They were all buyers, right? So the European Union sellers, even the UK buying. And that's probably because a lot of people in the UK, the millionaires, are leaving anyway, so they're probably buying U.S. equities before they do. All right, so I said these are not the words of someone who's getting ready to cave from China. Let's listen to this real quick.
I want it to happen. I was actually saddened to hear it, but they are getting absolutely hammered in China. And, they're sending boats, the biggest boats in the world, carrying cargo like nobody's ever seen before. These are the biggest boats in the world, biggest cargo ships in the world. And they're coming and they're turning around in the Pacific Ocean. They're doing a big U-turn and going back.
Not true, but whatever.
Because they don't want the goods, because 145 tariff. But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us. And that includes intellectual property and other things. There are a lot of things far beyond just buy, sell. So we'll see what happens. But
that's not somebody who's looking to capitulate. That's somebody operating from a position of strength. Also, I want you to listen to Jensen Huang. There's a lot of people. I love his cabinet too, JT. They're amazing. It's like the Marvel Avengers. It's better than the Marvel Avengers because they kind of went to shit. But Jensen Huang talking here about their $500 billion investment and investing in the United States. Let's listen to it.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor to be here. Nvidia reinvented computing for the first time after 60 years. In fact, Ervin at IBM knows quite well that the computer has largely been the same since the 60s.
First part's kind of boring. It gets better.
The IBM System 360,
might actually
probably a couple of hundred companies in the supply chain. It is so heavy.
No, there's good stuff
in 1964, the year after my birth. Well, after all this time, we've reinvented computers again. This is what a processor looks like. It's on the right there. People say it's a GPU. That's one GPU unit, and it's 70 pounds, 60,000 parts, 10,000 watts. In order to manufacture it, requires probably a couple of hundred companies in the supply chain. It is so heavy that it requires robotics to do. It's so precise, and just to test a supercomputer requires a supercomputer. And we're going to build NVIDIA's technology, the next generation of that, all here in the United States. Without the president's leadership, his policies, his support, and very importantly, his strong encouragement.
Yeah, see, he's joking about that, but he's 100% fucking right. He's saying you have to do this here. This is where this is going to be done. It's not going to be done in China. This is too strategic to our future as a country against an adversary that hates us. We have to do it here. And Jensen is reluctantly going along with that, and they are doing it here.
I mean, a strong encouragement. Frankly, manufacturing in the United States wouldn't have accelerated to this pace. Manufacturing isn't about low-cost labor anymore. Manufacturing is about technology.
This is awesome. So again, we can build it here. Everybody keeps saying, oh no, Apple can't build things here. Nvidia can't build them here. These are the jobs we're looking for. TSMC, Apple, AMD, Nvidia. We want the manufacturing that is critical for our future strategically. That's the manufacturing we want here. We don't give a fuck if you get your socks from China. We don't care. If you get some cheap desk from China, we don't give a fuck. Now, we want to encourage all kinds of manufacturing here, but these are the things that are important to us.
And most of the factories that build these systems today are the most advanced factories in the future.
We're going to look at that talk with Karp. Yes, that's a really good one.
And we're going to use artificial intelligence and robotics and omniverse digital twin technology to make it possible for us to create.
Oh, thanks, man. Says Hassett says tariff news expected by the end of the day, guys.
The factories of the future, and we ought to build it. We ought to build it right here. The really amazing thing is that this computer is the engine of a whole new industry, and this new industry is called artificial intelligence. And this new industry is a manufacturing industry in itself. That's a factory machine. Just as several hundred years ago, the dynamo was invented, water would come in and electricity would come out. Now electricity goes into this machine and incredible tokens come out, artificial intelligence. In order for this industry to thrive, we need to build these systems, of course, but we also need a progressive growth and industry-oriented energy policy, which this president has really put his weight behind. I really appreciate that.
So he's saying, hey, he did a great job with ensuring that manufacturing for critical industries like AI and robotics and all this stuff are happening in the United States. And he's doing a great job ensuring that we have energy independence in order to be able to do these things. There are still people, I was arguing with one yesterday, had so many likes on his post talking about how we're a developed nation and we don't need manufacturing and how stupid it is that we want to go back to these things. These people are the dumbest fucking people on this planet, and yet they have tons of likes. And again, the Overton window, they're very much in it, and it's a waste of energy.
Without energy, we can't possibly have new growth industries. And we now have the backing of the administration, the backing of President Trump to support the creation of a whole new industry. This industry is going to enable a whole bunch of other industries. What we now call the AI infrastructure is going to revolutionize every industry that we know. All of the many CEOs in the room today are great partners of ours for that reason. We're working on artificial intelligence for many industries, from healthcare to drug discovery to life sciences, financial services, education, so many different industries. And that's going to be possible because we have the fundamental infrastructure here in the United States. And so I want to thank you, sir, for everything that you've done and the strong encouragement and the great policies that make it possible for us. Thank you, sir.
That's him basically saying you forced us, because he talked about the encouragement like 5 different times during the speech. Sealess and Sidvid talking about how automation needs to be here, and Sidvid said we need that manufacturing to secure our vertically related national security areas, and then also COVID exposed all of this. I don't understand how people could have gotten past COVID, seen how insane all of this stuff was, the disruptions that occurred, and how we couldn't get basic things for virtually everything, and not be alarmed by that, and not understand that we need to be making the moves that we're making right now. I don't get it. Mahindra said, Nvidia, Jensen Huang just said the next generation of supercomputers will be in the United States. We just saw that. Also, I don't know if a lot of people saw this yesterday. Yeah, strong encouragement, he said multiple times. Rex Finance, Ben Briggs. I actually don't like that his name's in here. I want to call him Rex. And I think it's stupid to put your name on social media. But he'll figure that out. He's young. Just in, Trump's tariff strategy seems to be working. In Q1, gross private domestic investment surged 21.9%. This includes a 22.5% jump in equipment investment as companies begin ramping up investment in domestic production to avoid tariffs. So again, the GDP data that we got out yesterday, you heard a bunch of people being bearish on it. I wasn't. I tried to post right away, even though I didn't do a show yesterday, so that people knew that it wasn't a bad thing. But this is another, this gross private domestic investment being at, one of the highest levels we've seen in multiple years, probably well before the pandemic. I don't even know how far going back, is a good thing. All right, we got the minerals deal too. So let's listen to Scott Bessent talk about the minerals deal. We got a lot more to talk about on that front with GDP and, again, ways for us to collect tax revenue as Bitcoin hits 96.5 and gets ready to break out of its strong resistance. Let's listen.
Thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
So we're going to get more rare earth elements and all kinds of other natural resources that we want. Thank you very much for finally getting this deal signed. Again, I think we gave concessions in order to be able to get this. People will say that Trump caved. Trump got something he didn't have before. Trump keeps getting things he didn't have before. Trump keeps getting things that other presidents haven't been able to get or haven't even tried to get before. But the narrative will be that Trump caves over and over again as he keeps winning, which we're going to look at a little bit later. Confident we can manufacture in the United States. Shea posted the engines of the fourth industrial revolution are humming. Again, Meta, Microsoft going through the roof. I put this out there because I don't think, again, subscribers only, I'm going to be doing a lot of that. Republicans are looking at unique ways to increase revenues. These methods accomplish other goals as well. It says possible Republican revenue raisers, increase stock buybacks, excise tax. Again, we don't necessarily want to encourage companies to buy back their own stock. Maybe they should be buying treasuries. Cap sea salt deductions. Again, just ways for us to be able to force the big guys to get back some of that money. But when their companies are getting enriched and have massive financial incentives of being here, then we make it to where the companies are coming here, but then maybe the executive branch we make a little more money off of, which is great. Right here, limit executive pay deductions, right? We want to make it to where they can't deduct a bunch of money so that we can get more wealth from the richest of the rich. Increase university endowment taxes. Fuck yeah. Get Harvard. Get all these colleges that have tens of billions of dollars in endowments. Let's tax the fuck out of them and weaken them. That's brilliant. I said, here's today's real GDP number. This is the one that people didn't see. This is the look at this real quickly here. Core PC. No, that's the price index. I got the wrong one on here. I got the wrong one. But anyway, there is one, and maybe it's in here. Maybe I can find it. Nope, I didn't get it. Wait. Real gross domestic. There's a core GDP number that I want to find. Real final sales to domestic purchasers. Parts of the GDP. All right, whatever. I'll try and find it. Let me go back over here. The UK, look at this. 10,000 millionaires. Imagine how much money has left the UK in just the last year in 2024. Look at this number. Just detrimental. Also, U.S. economy, the levels of Fed survey respondents that are expecting declines. Oh, wait, this is old. We already went through this. All right, that's that. Let me jump over here. SEP is up. I worry about SEP. Don't get too... Check the NAV on SEP, guys. The net asset value. Make sure you look at it. Otherwise, you could be making some mistakes. Real quickly here. Yeah, let's go here. Let's do this. So we're going to go Trump. We already looked at this one. We're going to talk about how Trump's winning. This is another example of how Trump's winning. This man was imprisoned in Kuwait for like 4 years. He's a black man, which is going to help Trump with the black vote. There's 47 people out of, which is amazing, 47. That's an interesting number. In 100 days that Trump was able to get released, hostages get released from prisons around the world. This guy was imprisoned in Kuwait for 4 years and taken away from his family. You can see his family is pretty excited to have him back.
All right, Mr. President, President Trump, I want to thank you for what you've done for me and my family. I just mentioned to Adam that I wanted you to know, everyone on your team, everyone that have supported this effort, that you know that we greatly appreciate it. Okay, I wanted you to be able to meditate on how you affected personally lives and the difference that you made. I'm a 60-year-old grandfather and father, so I can't put words in how excited. Give all grace and honor to God. But He used instruments, and there have been a lot of people behind the scenes who have done a great work. So I wanted you to be able to hear that directly from me. And again, God bless you and your family. All right, Ms.
So again, just winning on all levels. And here's what I think is actually happening, guys. I think the U.S. stock market's getting ready to boom. I think American companies are going to boom. I think the USA is going to boom. I've already told you guys why we're not like the Smoot-Hawley tariffs of the 1930s that caused one of many things that caused a Great Depression. Not just that. We had no mechanisms in order to be able to loosen. The money supply tightened dramatically. There's a lot of things that aren't simply anything like today. We didn't have technology back then. We didn't really have technological innovation. We had it, but not nearly to the degree of what we have right now. And so I believe that the USA is going to boom, and I think we've got a golden age of America happening right now. And I think Trump's telling you that. You should probably listen. And literally telling you that the priority is us now, and yet people are bearish on this country. It blows my fucking mind.
After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House. And instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first.
That these people love him. This is in the Midwest. That is in Michigan. Mike Lee said America shouldn't tie itself to unscientific environmental treaties that allow China to do whatever it wants. I've asked Secretary Rubio to withdraw the United States from the Montreal Protocol. We're going to be doing a lot of that. We've got, this is funny, Johan said, so you're telling me we could have had relatively healthy food for decades and the only thing stopping us was having someone ask. So again, PepsiCo announces that it will remove artificial ingredients from its products to align with the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy's crackdown. Amazing. Let's listen to some of these people talking here. So right here we have, Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is great. So this is Trump says that he has a plan to mitigate nationwide injunctions by rogue judges. I believe I have details on this plan, but I want to go through them and make sure I fully understand them, and then we'll talk about them later.
You mentioned this last night in your speech in Macomb, that we're facing an unprecedented situation where there's a lot of abuses of nationwide injunctions, sort of seemingly designed to curtail your power, specifically when it comes to deporting these illegal, violent aliens that came in under the previous administration. Yeah. Have you spoken to your team about ways to mitigate this and continue to deliver for the American people?
Well, there are ways to mitigate it, and there's some very strong ways. There's one way that's been used by 3 very highly respected presidents, but we hope we don't have to go that route. But there is one way that has been used very successfully by 3 presidents, all highly respected. And hopefully we don't have to go that way. But there are ways of mitigating that. I want to thank you all very much.
You mentioned this last
Daniel Lee, anyone know where I can find Jesse's portfolio? I see his trades. Oh, dude, you could just look at the top of this. I've got to update it. I'm behind. Like, how far behind am I? March 9th. That's pretty behind. No, that can't be right. Oh, that was the last one. April 7th. Okay. Still pretty bad. So 3 weeks. Going to be less than a month this time, which is better. But this is my portfolio right here. It shows the portfolio. It's outdated. It will be better on Saturday or Sunday. And I show this on Discord. I do have it on Discord. I have a section called Today's Trades. I also have portfolio allocations. So I will be updating it on there as well. And yeah, and you can see it all on here. And then I don't just give you, I don't give you just the good. I tell you the bad. This is the last one I had. It sucked. I'm well over 3 million now. But portfolio balance down another 1.23 million-ish in a month. And I tell you the reasons why and what happened and why I believe I'm in a really good position. And I give, a lot, I think, compared to other people. All right, let's keep going. So we do have plans against rogue judges that we're going to fix. Yeah. And so again, we've talked about this on this channel for a while, but people are losing focus. Let's listen.
We cut your taxes from almost 40% down to 21%.
This is talking. He's talking to businesses. That's the context.
1%. Now we're bringing your taxes down from 21% to 15%. If you build your product, make your product in the USA. So if you make it in the USA.
And just to be very clear, so again, 40% down to 21% for corporate tax rate. Now he wants to go down to 15%. And so people have seen the first term that he does what he says, and that what he says has not changed. And now they're seeing in the second term that he wants to bring it down to 15, which is one of the best corporate tax rates on this planet. So massive incentive between all the deductions, all the stuff. You can basically fully deduct the factories that you're building out in the United States and get the lowest corporate tax rate on the planet. Seems like a pretty good incentive to me. Let's listen to our energy secretary talking about the plans that we're doing from an energy perspective. I think there's some good stuff in here. I'm going to speed it up just a hair, though.
Mr. President, you ran on unleashing American energy, and 100 days have shown the tremendous impacts that can arise from the unleashing you have enabled. I'll hit a few highlights. Number one, oil, gasoline, and diesel prices are the lowest they've been in years. How does that happen in 100 days? That's a messaging. Your message that we're pro-energy.
Oil is at $57.52 right now. Amazing. It's back down to 2021 levels.
Not against energy, we're for it. That sends a message to the marketplace that supply is easier to grow now and supply will be coming, and that's already led to tremendous savings for American consumers across the country. And we need not only more affordable energy, but we need a lot more energy. One highlight I think a couple of us have touched on is AI. This is a new emerging critical industry that's very energy intensive. It is not acceptable for the United States to not be the leader in AI. We must win the AI race and lead in that, and that's going to take a lot more energy. If you had not won election, we would not have won the AI race. Full stop. Energy would not have been there to enable us to win. Reshoring of manufacturing. These trillions of dollars you let off with, it's going to come back to our country to make chips, to make steel, to make automobiles, to make artificial intelligence, to make all of these industries we've outsourced. That's only going to be possible with way more American energy. But we have that energy. We have those resources. We have those businesses. We have those capitalists. We just need to stop standing in the way of them and follow the lead.
Again, guys, they're doing that everywhere, whether it's offshore drilling, whether it's in Alaska, whether it's Keystone pipelines, whether it's pushing for nuclear energy, whether it's pushing for LNG production and more sales, and trying to get Europe and India and other parts of the world to be able to purchase those in order to be able to get better, lower tariff rates. We're doing it on all levels.
You've said, which is to enable them, not to subsidize them, not to help them, to enable them to invest American money and create American jobs here.
Also, removing regulatory boundaries makes it to where the price of oil and the price of gas and the price of energy goes down dramatically.
Regarding our balance of trade, the second largest export of the United States is liquefied natural gas. Second fastest. In the next few years, it'll be our largest export in our country. But yet, 18 months ago, the Biden administration said, we're going to stop issuing permits for new LNG export terminals. That's just nuts. That's a great competitive advantage we have. Huge balance of trade driver, a huge industry just coiled and ready to go. I just came back from Poland last night. They are thrilled that America is back in business again and that the rest of Europe can get off of Russian energy and can enable their own economic growth with secure, reliable, affordable energy from the United States.
Again, no point in buying $30 billion in Russian energy when you can get it from the United States instead.
Also witnessed the signing ceremony for a deal between two large American businesses to build a huge nuclear power plant in northeastern Poland. The first of this design built in Europe. It'll be the first of many. I spoke with many other nations over there. They want to buy more American gas. They want to get American technology. They want to have a partnership with us. And they shared the message I delivered to Europe in my keynote remarks is that unleashing energy is the way you make your society safer, more prosperous, more free, and that these sort of over-the-top climate alarmism doesn't do anything to help the environment of our world, but it does impoverish people, it does reduce the security of your nation, and it makes you weaker. I think that's a constant message many of us around this table have brought to Europe. We want our friends in Europe standing up again.
And here's the thing, they're listening. Zach said, how do you feel about Amit whining about the market yesterday? Just turn around and delete his tweets and then change his tune this morning. I didn't know anything about him deleting his tweets. I don't actually follow him too much anymore. I really like Amit. I think, though, that he's a great interviewer, which is probably why he does that with, Vlad and Robin Hood and with, Alex Karp and Palantir. And I think he's good at seeing I don't know. He's come around in Tesla, so I think he's getting much better as an investor. And I've watched him grow up a lot, and I really like him. He's completely wrong on Trump, and maybe someday he'll figure that out, and then he'll be aligned with his views, and then he'll talk about how successful they were and how he was there the whole time. I don't know.
Acres. So they're investing $165 billion.
This is in regard to TSMC. I probably won't play that because there's a better one that I want to show later. But essentially, that they're expecting 40,000 people to build the rest of their plants and 20,000 to be there to help run them afterwards. And they're working aggressively because yesterday we stripped away. They were able to basically sign a deal, and then they were able to, and they stripped away the normal regulation process that they have to go through. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And then Lutnik was sitting there getting interviewed, and he was talking with them, and you could see all the construction going on behind them that literally started that day because of the fact that we helped them through all the bureaucratic bullshit, which I think is really important. Let's listen to Robert F. Kennedy here.
And I want to thank you for your courage. You are business-friendly.
This guy was a Democrat. Let's just remember that.
President, probably the most business-friendly in our history, but you're also willing to stand up to very, very powerful businesses, and you've shown that again and again. Secretary Rollins had the soda industry come and knock on her door very much, very loudly, and they said to her, well, the SNAP program is not supposed to be about nutrition. She pointed out to them.
Yeah, so they were trying to say that the SNAP program is not supposed to be about nutrition and that you shouldn't prevent people from getting their pop and all this other stuff.
That there is no nutrition in a soda. And they said, well, it's not supposed to be about nutrition. And she said to them, the name of the program is supplemental nutrition. It is about nutrition.
I love RFK. He's a good dude. And then we've got J.D. Vance talking too. Let's listen to him. Again, I know a lot of people don't have time to listen to all these, which is why I'm trying to summarize them so that you get an idea of what was talked about. Because if you listen to mainstream media, 97% of it's negative shit.
The media attacks this administration as chaotic is because the president is solving the problems the American people set about to solve. He's actually doing the things that he promised that he would do. And Mr. President, it's been an honor to be part of it for the past 100 days. And let me just make one other observation because it's interesting. I've seen the data, I've monitored it, I've looked at it, But the most underreported fact of the first 100 days is that we came in with a massive recruitment shortfall. And in 100 days of Secretary Hassett and President Trump's leadership, we now have people breaking down the doors to join our military. To the media assembled here, it's a really interesting question. Why has that happened? Completely aside from the fact that I think it's a good thing or I think that President Trump deserves political credit for it, why did we go from a military where people didn't want to serve to now all of a sudden they do want to serve? That's a story you guys should cover, but compared to that, how much time have you instead focused on the fact that we deported an MS-13 gang member with a valid deportation order? And why is it that the press is so focused on the fake BS rather than what's really going on in the country? I think that what we've shown, sir, is that you can do a lot. You can do a lot in 100 days, but you've also unfortunately revealed that too much of the American media hasn't learned the lessons of the past.
Oh, what? TJ lost his mom? Fuck, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll have to look at his post. That's really sad. That really sucks, man. See, you can have all the money in the world and things going well, and you can still have bad things happen.
Sir, it's been a...
And that's probably way more impactful than whether or not TJ made another $1 million.
Momentous 100 days with you at the helm, and I view this 100 days as setting the table for peace deals, trade deals, tax deals. So the next 100 days will be harvesting. You've created negotiating leverage and leadership that are going to yield remarkable results. Energy costs have plummeted, mortgage rates are down, food costs are moving lower, and American families are finding their financial footing again.
Agreed. All of those things are great. And again, talking about media bias, here we go. So Pete Hegseth, he's probably like the most white definition of a manly man, like old school, right? Like he'd be Superman, kind of, right? Like he's military, he's got "We the People" tattooed on his arm. He's the epitome of everything the liberal left hates. And then Elon Musk is right up there with them. And then RFK, well, he was a liberal once, so we'll give him a little bit less. So he's only at 89% negative news coverage. But this is the media bias that exists out there. It's a fucking joke. Sent you a DM on TJ's mom. Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I do want to say hi to him. Also, Pam Bondi, you remember this asshole in Minnesota that works under Tim Walz? And that was able to damage $20,000 worth of Teslas and not get anything at all, even though somebody that day got a felony and was going to get locked up for something similar, but not with a Tesla. Well, Pam Bondi's going after this motherfucker. Let's see if we can put him in prison for 20 years. Bye, bitch. Rapid response. Here's Elon. Let's listen to him talking real quick here. And actually, before we get to that, I got to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to run and do that. So I'm going to pop this up here for a second, guys, and I'll be right back. I'm just going to take care of business, and then we'll get back to it.
So I'm thinking, if I could start a business, I'd like to send a check to Zuckerberg, and he would target the people I need to find. I mean, this was a call where he actually just said, basically, Procter & Gamble, what are you doing? Yeah, McDonald's, stop. I mean, he was saying that advertisers, if you put money in a linear TV, you're just trying to reach the septuagenarian crowd or the octogenarian crowd. Come join us. It was so good. Still, they're losing more than $4 billion in Reality Labs, but that's just some sort of what? Is that Area 51 or something? What do I got there?
Meantime, yeah, advertising revenue up 16, average price paid on ads up 10.
I know,
Jim, and no real anything in the Q2 revenue guidance that suggests that would soften.
No, and they're both Microsoft and Meta have one single problem that the liars who come on air all the time, maybe they don't realize they're lying, maybe they're just brainwashed. These guys all need more Nvidia. They all need more data center. I mean, that was the theme. I thought the theme was that there was too much Nvidia and there's too much data center. David, there was a false narrative that started ever since the
since DeepSeek. Really.
DeepSeek.
Yeah.
Ever since the DeepSeek Sputnik.
Yep.
And now you have Jensen Huang explaining to President Trump how you have to be able to have more countries, and we don't know whether he's going to win people over.
Well, that is one mitigating factor against sort of the broader enthusiasm is the diffusion rule.
Yes.
You've brought it up many times. It's still out there. The idea essentially that a lot of our friendly countries are going to need a license to get the highest end chips. And by the way, if you know the president, if he's got the opportunity to have leverage, as in, hey, you need a license. What are you going to give us to get your
Transactional.
license? It could become more difficult. There's no doubt about it.
But he clearly likes it. Does it matter whether he likes you?
No. Well, yeah, I guess that matters. But But
he always says he likes Xi too, so
you
I guess
never
it's not
know.
really.
Listen, there's lots of people he likes, and you're like, well, that's still happening. I mean, he likes
has to
Larry Ellison a
I don't
lot.
think he-
Last
I
I
don't
heard,
think he-
Paramount's still that litigation or that negotiation, whatever it is, still going on.
Still going. Does he like Joe Biden?
No.
What
No.
was interesting
But
was
he does
said,
like to mention
He
them a
said
lot.
yesterday was Biden's market.
Yes.
He caught the opening, but he didn't get the close.
By the end of the
close
day,
was in Trump
by the end of the day, it wasn't Biden's.
No, it was
And
Trump's market.
today,
at the end of the day.
it's a Trump market.
Well, the morning it's a Trump market. Who knows what's going to happen in the afternoon?
Today, it's by the afternoon. It could be a
And then
Biden
you have
market.
Apple.
We should put on the screen if it's a Trump market or a Biden market
Why not?
every day.
Why don't we do that? And we have Scotty's show be like, hey, is it going more to...
Right? Are we feeling Trumpy or Biden-y?
And then if you go on Robinhood, which...
All right. Was there anything helpful on what they just said there, or was it all fucking noise? You guys tell me. I'm guessing it was noise. All right. Here we go. Let's listen real quickly here to yesterday, Elon Musk talking about the president of the United States.
You know, the American people voted for secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. And that's what they've gotten. A tremendous amount has been accomplished in the first 100 days. As everyone has said, it's more than has been accomplished in any administration before, ever, period. This portends very well for what will happen for the rest of the administration. I think this could be the greatest administration.
Remember when everybody told you that these two were going to get in a fight and that they would break up really quickly and none of this would work out? Remember all that? Look at the way he's looking at him. This is the way you look at somebody that you are forever friends with. This is like soulmate shit. It really is. And and here's the thing. I believe soulmates can exist amongst men and amongst women too. It doesn't have to be some weird sexual thing. I think there's people that you have connections with in your life. They could be older than you, younger than you. You just feel like you've known each other throughout time. And I think these guys are very much in that state right now.
Thank you for your help. You really have sacrificed a lot. You've been treated very unfairly.
Well, they do like to burn my cars, which is not great. You know, could be better.
But you have been treated unfairly. But the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you, and this whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done, and we just want to thank you very much. And you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his cars and his. Done an incredible job. $150 billion. Think of that.
Yeah. It's 160 now.
Yeah, 160. They said, oh, it could more. And a lot of stuff is being worked on. That number could be doubled and even tripled. A lot of things are being worked on that we don't count yet because it's not quite there. But you've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it very much, Elon.
Thank you. It's also an honor to work with your incredible cabinet. I'd just like to say thank you, everyone. It's great to work with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, I don't know that Scott Bessent likes Elon because, again, they fought with each other quite a bit. But, again, I think he's a great guy. And somebody said, who is it? Austin, I think Trump is the father Elon never really had. I kind of agree with that. Fuck yeah. I can see that. Silas, even if they were to fall out, they can maintain. Oh, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, though. I don't even think it's a scenario. Speaking of more Trump winning, here's Trump winning against ABC. He was going to have a $20 billion lawsuit. They caved, and they're settling, and they're going to give him a bunch of money. Isn't that funny? Also, breaking, U.S. sanctions Chinese and Iranian networks for supply missile propellant materials to Iran's IRGC. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Iran's missile program threatens U.S. and regional security and violates global non-proliferation norms. So again, not just Iran that we're going after, but China. Oh, sorry, CBS. Sorry about that. Hey, Jesse, I'm late this morning, but you've predicted a lot correctly lately. I like to think all the time. The dedication that you put into the space shows. Luck favors the prepared. Are you prepared? Thank you. Yes, I believe I am. Very much so, sir. All right, let's keep going. Hamas supports have shown synagogue in New York are physically again, just craziness from the left. This is what the left respects, is this assaulting of people that have previously been persecuted and had genocide against them. Evidently, it wasn't enough genocide because they're siding with Palestinians who still believe in genocide and who have stores like Hitler 2 that were in Palestine openly beforehand. It's just funny. Anyway, that's enough on the Trump side of things. Let's get back over here. We got a lot to talk about. Let's see. We're probably going to go. There's so much to talk about. Let's go to Tesla and real quick here. And then, so about in another 20 minutes, guys, we're going to have market open. We're going to have more data points. So I think Man Mahindra was talking about this a second ago. Ford has killed a program to develop a Tesla-like electronic brain. So again, Tesla has the ability, if you don't know this, its computer is like its brain. And then the octovalve is like the heating and cooling unit. It heats and cools everything in the car. It's like its heart. And then there's all these connections. Before, you'd have weird latency issues, but we don't have any of that stuff in a Tesla. Tesla, all the components can speak to the brain in real time and relay information just like a human being's body and central nervous system. So they were going to try and develop something like this, and they can't do it, so they quit. Joe Bhakti, I like this guy. He said, I agree, but no surprise. Stop consuming fake news and subscribe. So this is about everybody talking about the Wall Street Journal article. I didn't even pay attention to it because it's bullshit. I put here, your Tesla won't do this. These are Chinese EVs. Look at this. Look at how long you have until you die. That's how long you have until you die. This is from my friend Winston. If you guys know the China show, you know who I'm talking about. But he shows a bunch of cars burning. It just shows all the chaos, vehicles, Chinese EVs just starting on fire and burning to the ground and incinerating the people that are inside of them, and just over and over and over again all over the place. So again, your Tesla won't do this. Gavin Newsom. So Gavin Newsom had some stuff to talk about. Yeah, bye-bye to your garage. So you can either own a Tesla or you don't. So Gavin Newsom had some things to talk about. He wanted to let Trump and Elon know that building is hard.
But I think the most difficult thing is when you're tearing something down, it's easy to get attention. Easiest thing in the world is tear something down. I could do all that in 10 days. I don't even need 100 days to tear everything down. It took decades and decades to build up. Building things is hard. You know, starting from scratch, improving things, reforming things.
All right, Elon. So just so you know, building things is hard. It's very easy to do Doge. It's very easy for Trump to tear things down. But building is hard, which is evidently what this administration is not. Oh, hey, Gavin, buddy, pal. Did you guys ever finish that high-speed train that cost like $23 billion? Have you gotten more of a mile than a mile of track laid? Because I know building is hard and you're super good at it. So that's exciting. Thank you for that. Gold has come down a lot, bro. Gold has come down a lot. And I was 100% right about this too, wasn't I? I literally called the top on this. So it's bouncing back a little bit today, but gold was down 8.38% from the top. This is the end of gold on this weekly time frame. That this is, I shouldn't say the end. What it is, and I posted about it a little bit earlier, is the perfect measured move. This is when you consolidate. It could consolidate for a very long time. This could be the end of gold for this cycle. We've got China dumping it. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here, because I think it's important to know that China's dumping gold, don't you? And look at this, Bitcoin. Is anybody talking about Bitcoin, guys? Anybody talking about Bitcoin? Anybody? Nope, nothing. Mop74 says, hello, Jesse. What time will you do the MicroStrategy? Probably just like 15 minutes before before the call. Maybe a little bit, maybe 30 minutes before. I'll post it in a little while here. We'll get it set up and running. All right. It's just in. Secretary Hassett called Indian Defense Minister and expressed solidarity with India over the past. Yeah, so again, we're very much intertwined with India. I've got a whole segment on that. We'll go over that. Waymo has 1,000 self-driving cars in its fleet. Tesla makes 1,000 self-driving cars in 5 hours. Tesla announced that they'll be building 46 semi-truck megawatt level charging sites in the next couple of years. They will all be built by early 2027. And again, this will just blow up just like all the rest. They'll own the trucking industry. They're just hitting the 90 percentiles. They're trying to get the big numbers, and then they'll move from there. Invest Answers, James, my buddy, he said Tesla news, in case you missed it, no tariffs on cars that 85% or more U.S. content built. The Tesla Model 3 is 87.5%. It counts. The Tesla Model Y long range and base model, 85%. It counts. The Cybertruck is 82.5%. So we just need 2.5%, and boom, it counts. And then the S and the X don't really matter at all. The volumes are so low. But if we got up 10% on those, they would count. Now, Ford is at 60%. GM is at 50%. And 48% are made outside the U.S. Stellantis is at 57%. All those companies are bankrupt. Ford is probably the best positioned outside of Rivian. Elon Musk is helping Google with a profit. We already went over that. And again, here's another breakdown that shows it more specifically kind of the different models that are out there. Again, all the Teslas are at the top, guys. Virtually no tariff impact whatsoever. We're at 96,560 now. We're getting ready to break out for Bitcoin, guys. The utter goal of Newsom talking about building things is hard. I know, right, Jeff? Gemini Knight, let's go buy gold now. It's going to go to 5K. Lol. I heard that so much. Isn't that funny? Right when everybody starts talking about how great something is and how you're going to make tons of money, and you look at the technical indicators and you realize you're in the 90s on the RSI on like the monthly time frame, I think it was. It all comes down to an end because the technicals are shit, but everybody's trying to sell it to you at that time. I said these aren't remotely comparable because, again, you got a car you can get for the 40s, Cybercab 30s or lower, and then you got a car that costs you $140,000 plus dollars. Not comparable. Yeah, anyway. And again, Tesla, the Semi, they said they're going to have 50,000 units annually by 2026. Crazy. Cybertrucks in India. I think we got the Tesla part done. John, thank you for joining as a member. I appreciate you, sir. All right, let's keep going. We're going to go over China, and then we got to hit India, too, and then we got to hit AI. So China just dumped 1 million ounces of gold. Huh, China's dumping gold. Wonder what that's about. I will go into more detail as to why and my thoughts. But again, I'm subscribed to Zero Hedge now, so I got their premium membership, and now I get stuff. I get access to things that other people don't get, and I've found it to be very valuable. I'm actually super impressed. I think I'm paying $35 a month because I do it monthly instead of annually. Annually, it's $30. I'm really starting to like that membership, guys. It's nice. Ohio University has announced it's shutting down all DEI offices. I don't know how this got thrown into China, but let's talk about it. So again, they're shutting down all their shit. This is another win for Trump. I'm just going to real quickly put that under Trump because I don't think that belongs in China. China, Trump. China, China, China. Maybe that's how I got there. I don't know. All right, let's keep going. Gemini Knight, and everyone is sleeping on Bitcoin just like you showed with Google Trends. Yeah, totally. They are, and it's getting ready to change. Oh, so let's talk about China. Let's talk about the parts. Sean Davis says, this is a perfect example right here. It's a 100% ripoff of SharkBite from a fake Chinese company that simply doesn't exist. Amazon deliberately hides country of origin on the product information page. Good luck trying to find any information about the alleged manufacturer. It's cheaper than SharkBite because China didn't have to spend a dime developing the plans or technology. They just stole all the IP from the original manufacturer. So when we're not building everything in China, they can't steal our fucking intellectual property and then shut us out of the industry. Won't that be great? China's 10-year, I pointed this out, their monthly close was the worst on record for China ever for their yields. And I said that a collapsing yield in a closed economy is a horrible thing because these guys can't easily, en masse, buy Bitcoin. Some people can in the black market. They can go to other places, Macau, and well, even Macau is probably hard. They can get Bitcoin, but again, it's incredibly illegal there. They have access to gold. They've been buying a fortune in it, but their market is struggling, and these people can't get the fuck out, which is why we saw a record drop in the lowest reading on 10-year yields in the history of China since they started to become a developed nation. And again, here's somebody else saying it, Lawrence McDonald. I don't know who this guy is. New York Times bestselling author when markets speak on Amazon. Huh, he's New York Times even. That's actually shocking. But he said bonds are speaking a far different narrative in regard to China. So even he gets it. Here's another part coming from my buddy Sean Davis, saying this Chinese piece of crap from Amazon is another amazing example of Amazon's bait and switch. I bought and installed it, and it caught on fire after 30 seconds. Total garbage. On Amazon's desktop, China is listed as the country of origin, but on the app, it's nowhere to be found. I think my favorite part, though, is trying to rip off the well-known Kohler brand with the deliberately misleading name Kohler Flow. Again, this is just ridiculous. Breaking in China, China's factory activity centers enters contraction after plunging to its lowest level in almost 2 years. So they're at a 49. These are bullshit numbers, and they're still sucking. And also, Kyle Bass called out Elon Musk, and I wanted to participate in that, talking about how China's got the larger economy, if you look at it the way he's looking at it. But Kyle Bass said, this is a complete joke, Elon. The denominator in the PPP calculation is inflation, good prices, and a command and controlled economy. Free electricity and slave labor can generate a false and eye-popping PPP. China pays many professors to write white papers about their PPP. You know who would love PPP? Yes, you got it. Me, Kevin. Don't be fooled into propagating a Chinese manufactured piece of propaganda. You are certainly too smart for this kind of analysis. China is experiencing a real estate collapse, a banking crisis, a youth unemployment explosion, and a birth rate collapse, on top of a manufacturing collapse, on top of their bond yields dropping dramatically into a nuclear winter. She is scrambling to stay in power. Look into his most recently military firings. Those were his hand-picked friends that he's firing now. Please be more thoughtful before you post things about the Chinese government. Would love for you to respond to this post. And he didn't get it, but he's right. He's right. I rarely say Elon is wrong, but he's right and Elon is wrong. And I think it's important that some people call that out when it's applicable. Game over. The CCP decoupling is underway by Rod Martin. Again, I'm not going to go into all this. They're going after a Vietnamese island that is uninhabited. They're trying to say that it's China's now. So they're fighting with their Vietnamese neighbors that are taking all of their manufacturing jobs. And again, China does lag behind us in AI and hardware and software. People won't talk about this, though, and you certainly won't hear it from Jensen Huang. Why? Because he wants to still have business in China, and that's where I think 40% of the revenues have went. Now, Nvidia is popping really good today. It's up 4.73% in pre-market, but I still worry about Nvidia going forward with these crackdowns in place. And I just want to say, guys, 96.6. If you look down in the bottom corner, we are going above the resistance zone and getting ready to go up, and it's just amazing. There's more about China, but fuck it, who cares? Again, foreign direct investment is horrific. It's the worst they've ever seen. It makes 2008 look like nothing. And in 2008, foreign direct investment disappeared because people just simply did not have the money to invest in China. And then once they started to have it, they started to pile back in 2009. But this is way worse, and it's not coming back. It's just not coming back. All right, let's keep going here. So Bitcoin. Let's get into Bitcoin. We got Morgan Stanley to offer Bitcoin and crypto trading services for its E-Trade clients. That seems like a big deal. We got Jason Lowery, who works for Space Force, who wrote this book that I have back here somewhere. Where's the book? Software. It's in there. It's in that pile of books. My latest one, I was starting Jekyll, but I might actually, what is this? Bhaktya, The Bitcoin Age. I might jump to that instead. Because, Jekyll Island is an older book talking about how shitty the Fed is. I know the Fed's shitty. So I might actually jump back over to the Bitcoin Age because I want to see Nick Bhattia's thoughts on that. So that's probably going to be my next read. I'm going to listen to that today and keep going. Let's listen to how the CIA thinks of Bitcoin.
CIA thinking about Bitcoin. Well, just like law enforcement, I guess, we are excited as well because, as you know,
I don't follow me, Kevin. He's kind of a fucking idiot. So I couldn't tell you. He seems to have TDS and EDS like Jeremy now and so many others. Guys, 96.7. We're seeing the fucking breakout. We're seeing the breakout. We're seeing it. It's happening right now. Ugh, it's happening right now. It's starting, guys. 96.7. This is the time. We're going to rock and roll. Oh, motherfucker. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to All right, we'll get back to that in a second. I'm sorry, I'm just getting excited here. Let's get back to the CIA's take on Bitcoin.
You may have thought Bitcoin was anonymous, but I'd say it's pseudonymous, right?
Yeah, it's pseudo-anonymous. This is good.
It's not truly anonymous, and there's a lot of work that we do with law enforcement, obviously, to try to track illicit crypto payments by bad actors. I mean, look. Bad actors, whether they're drug cartels or terrorist groups or outlaw regimes, use cryptocurrency, but they use other tools as well, right?
They use dollars in cars.
Yeah, right.
Nope, too distracting.
They used toner cartridges for their printers, right? It doesn't mean we say we should ban all of those, right? No, I mean, look, Bitcoin is here to stay. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. As you know, more and more.
It actually makes his job easier.
More institutions are adopting it, and I think that's a great trend, and one that this administration has obviously been leaning forward into. It's another area of technological competition where we need to make sure the United States is well positioned against China, another adversary.
I love that. I love all of it. We can skip some of it though. Look in the bottom corner, guys. If you look here, this is a real move. This is a real move. This is really happening right fucking now. This price action is beautiful. Get ready for it. So the CIA, they think it's okay. We've got strategy, and I'm actually looking for them to talk about a synthetic halving today in the conference call. It says strategy is synthetically halving Bitcoin by purchasing at least half of the newly mined supply each month. They're actually purchasing the supply. They're purchasing it. They're purchasing the supply every month. Just this one fucking company. So if they're purchasing the supply every month and you've got Jack Mallers saying they're going to buy more Bitcoin, and again, related to Cantor Fitzgerald, all these guys are intertwining with each other. You don't realize how much money you're getting ready to make. Zero Hedge, for the first time ever, the Treasury Borrowing Advisory Committee discusses stablecoins as a new payment mechanism and a potentially huge source of demand for U.S. Treasury bills. We've talked about this. We were way ahead of everybody else. One, stablecoin issuers currently hold over $120 billion in new T-bills. They are the largest buyer of Treasury bills right now of anybody. Rapid growth in stablecoins could lead to incremental demand of $900 billion for Treasury bills. Size of the bill market today is $6.4 trillion. This is a huge inflow. If stablecoins experience exponential growth, demand for USTs should be correlated, likely at the expense of bank deposits. Stablecoins could grow to $2 trillion by 2030 in response to continued market and regulatory breakthroughs. Stablecoins could disrupt this right here, guys, could disrupt traditional banks by drawing away deposits. Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. We actually don't mind that at all. This is the stuff of fucking melt-ups. Yes, we have the bell in 3 minutes. We'll look at that in a second. That gives us just enough time to listen to this because I think this is huge. You got to listen. Everybody asks why Bitcoin doesn't go up. These are the reasons why. It doesn't cover everything, but a lot.
I've seen a lot of people try to wrap their heads around how strategy can buy tens of thousands of Bitcoins without sending the price parabolic. It's a great question, and it's an interesting way to think about how.
Keep in mind, this is all behind us. It really is. We're going parabolic now.
The Bitcoin market actually works. First, it helps to understand what happens when the price of Bitcoin rises sharply, like from $16,000 lows of 2022 to $95,000 today. If you look at the HODL waves in this cycle and past cycles, you'll notice something important. Older coins start to move. That suggests some long-term holders are finally selling, transferring their coins to new hands. Who are the new hands? Strategy, ETF buyers, institutions, nation states, and of course, more individuals. Another reason the price doesn't explode upward, MicroStrategy intentionally buys in a way that avoids moving the price. Saylor has talked about this many times. They use a disciplined, patient strategy, placing thousands or even millions of small buy orders over several days. The goal is to let sellers come to them without bidding against themselves and pushing the price higher. So that's one compelling explanation. Saylor can buy a lot of Bitcoin without moving the price much because he's buying from long-term wealthy holders and doing so in a way that minimizes short-term price impact. But I've started to develop an additional theory.
And he is lowering downside price impact, which is why we're not seeing Bitcoin going down a lot especially over this last year.
MSTR,
it's went down, but it didn't go down a lot at all. And people were expecting much lower numbers and they didn't get them. Oh well.
Bitcoin buys don't impact the price as much as people think. Not because they're small, they're massive, but because of how they're funded. Let's start with equity. Here's an analogy.
We're not going to get to this in time, so I'm going to save it because it's really, really good, and I want you guys to hear the whole thing, and I don't want it to be interrupted. So we're going to get over here and listen to these dipshits.
Big winner, Doge.
Big winner.
Big winner from Doge. People got that completely wrong. Bill is just He's a closing machine.
Oh yeah, there's no salesman like Bill McDermott.
Right?
No.
What are you talking? Implying Glengarry Glen Ross?
I mean, even beyond
some people
that, yes.
Bob Odenkirk. Some people have.
It's the one nomination was Bob Odenkirk for
Bob
Glengarry.
Odenkirk,
Yeah.
serious guy.
I don't know if anybody holds the Tesla 330s, but I do think that they're going to do really well. You just get out of them once you get to that level. That's the mistake I made. I didn't get out soon enough because, again, you get intrinsic value and extrinsic value. Watch my Option 101 video so you understand those two concepts. But once you get like a little bit above 330, you should be in something else, a different vehicle, maybe TSLL. Because I do think Tesla's going to skyrocket a lot, and there'll be a point where I tell people to get the fuck out, just like Bitcoin, or at least remove all the leverage and get in the underlying. That's the fun part. You can always get back in the underlying.
When we come back from the break, I'm going to describe how wrong Baird was.
We'll go straight to the bell, I think. Let's get the opening bell and the CNBC Real-Time Exchange. And the big board today, it is building products company Core Molding Technologies. At the NASDAQ, it's SkyCorp Solar, a solar cabling company in China.
This is pre-market.
Celebrating a recent IPO.
What do we need now more than a great small IPO from China, like every day? But I was thinking when you mentioned Core Weave is moving. Now, David has an...
I'm going to close this out. So we got Core Technologies coming out. Okay, cool. I'm going to close that down. I don't want to hear the fucking noise coming from these people. They're just stupid. Let's look over here and see what's going on with the market. So we got Tesla opening up. It's pretty much flat. It's down like 0.15%. Nvidia's up 3.7%. SMCI is down 1.6%. Palantir's up 1%. SoFi's up 2.32% after having a great launch and then dropping down. And it looks like a lot of things. Hood's down 0.5%. Solana's up 3%. SoFi or Sol Strategies, the Solana fund, like MicroStrategy-ish, is up almost 10% today. Let me see how much I've made on that one. I have made about 160% on that one in about a month. So that's been treating me very good. Markets are looking good, though. If we just look here, we can see how it's recovering. We can see how the Magnificent Seven are doing really, really well. Amazon is probably doing better than it should. Meta deserves it. Microsoft deserves it. 10% on Microsoft right now. Fuck. That's beautiful. 7.33 on Meta. That's beautiful. Nvidia, again, I don't think Nvidia deserves to be up. Apple deserves to be down. Amazon doesn't deserve to be up unless that deal is coming with China, which I don't see right away. And I just want to reiterate, guys, we had not just on the NASDAQ, and we'll probably look at charts now for a little bit. I want to get back to the Bitcoin stuff too, but we're getting ready to break out. This is beautiful. Like, this is fucking beautiful. Not only did we not make it to the lower base or drop even further, because I was making jokes about, hey guys, we're down. I was like, hey guys, we're down 21%. We're like 60 to 70% to the bottom if it really goes down hard. And we just never got to that. And that's wonderful. Now we're getting ready to break out of this downward trend. We got to get above this yellow line. But when you have a monthly close that looks like this, this kind of wick, I'm sorry, you are bullish as fuck. Yeah, Meta, and we talked about that earlier. Meta and Microsoft both raised CapEx yesterday on the earnings call. So if you're bearish into that, I'm sorry. I feel sorry for you, son. Your thoughts on Hood, Jesse? I love Hood. I think it's a great company. They had a quarter-over-quarter drop, I think. But I think it's a great company. I think Vlad is really smart, and I think that the stock could go up a lot. I think it could double from where it's at right now, or at least go up a quick 60%. But that's not enough for me. So after I make a bunch of money in other things, I'll probably look to invest in that again, and at least establish a smaller position. That'll probably happen. But again, on the monthly, the S&P just looks stupid. The NASDAQ looks stupid. And the Russell's going to be coming behind it here real quick, too. So everything's recovering. We already have Tesla up almost 1% on the day. We got MicroStrategy up 3.5%. We got Mara up almost 5%. We've got CleanSpark up almost 6%. We got Iron up 4%. It looks like a really good day to be in Bitcoin, guys. We're going to make a lot of money. What do I think about HIMS? I don't know if I think much about HIMS. I was happy to see that everybody made a bunch of money off of it. I don't really pay much attention to it. It's not really my thing. Even though I do use the products, I don't know enough about the sector or business to really feel confident about where it's headed. And so I try not to focus too much on things that I don't really understand well. But I do think it got beat up a lot. I think it had like that 40+% day and then retraced dramatically. I do think it's finding support. There is a little bit of a baby gap down here that could suck. But I will say this. On volume candles, you have times where the volume just goes exponential. At least on the daily candle here, that was the strongest volume ever in the history of this fucking company right here. And so sometimes you have volume where you hit your tops, like, and this is the way it usually works. So let me just notate some of this. So, and it didn't work that way so much here. It kind of did. It didn't really, we didn't get like a volume candle that, well, I guess we did over here. We had a volume candle that marked the bottom. Then we had a volume candle over here that marked like a much greater increase. And then we had another volume candle here that marked a much greater increase. But what you'll find often is like this volume is probably a bottom indicator. It was very a red candle, but then it just shot up like crazy on the daily, by far the largest ever in the history of this company, off of oversold conditions. And this, just like this one over here, marked the top right here. It was greater volume than had ever come before it. It marked the top. And there was a lot of volume heading into it on the different days and afterwards. So there was a lot of volume combined there. Cumulatively, the volume you've had here is probably a bottom indicator. So from a technical standpoint, I think HIMS looks really good, and I think it's ready to rock and roll. Personally, that would be my guess on that one. Not that it has to, but I think it's in a really good position too. TLT's down today. It looks like ARKG's down 2% today. That's fine. That's one that's going to be a little bit of a delayed run. SMCI got walloped. I don't have much to say about the earnings except their guidance. It sounds like they have one customer that dropped a lot. Bitcoin is dropping a little bit. We're at 96,260. I still think it's going to do really good today. We'll see how it ends up playing out, but I am not dismayed by that in any way. I think it's going to do really good. I think maybe just stocks are having a little bit of a buffer here. And maybe it takes over the weekend for it to really rock. What are your thoughts on MicroStrategy today? The earnings? Yeah, we could talk about that. Let's go to that, actually. We'll do this real quick. And then I don't want to interrupt that. Let me just jump out here. So I'll give you Grok's response to it, which was thorough and ridiculous. And I think that's my response. Let me see here. If I can find it. There we go. Not that. Oh, look at this. Strife targets this. $300 trillion. Love it. We're going to talk a lot about that. Let me see here, though. I had a post. Is it in here? Did I put it in here? Did I not put it in here? I might have to find it and put it in here. Oh, you know what? It's under my Bitcoin section. Let's go back to Bitcoin, and we'll rock and roll and get to it, and then I'll move it back over. Soft War is 47% off on Amazon. It's a great book. It's well worth listening to. All right, so let's listen here real quickly on why the Bitcoin price action has not utterly launched yet.
Sell one Bitcoin on Kraken.
Thoughts on MSTX and TSLL? I'm glad I'm balls deep in them.
And buy one Bitcoin on Coinbase. What happens to the price? Nothing. That's an economically neutral trade. It just shifts exposure. Same idea here. MSTR sells stock. Someone buys that stock instead of buying Bitcoin. Then MSTR takes that cash and buys Bitcoin.
He's 100% right. Net effect is nothing.
Net effect, a shift in exposure. No net new demand, just a reallocation. Convertible notes, very similar story. Hedge funds buy the notes.
But then he ends up buying Bitcoin, and that does increase. It does pull away potential sell volume from people that were going to sell. And so I do believe it creates a floor for it, and I do believe it creates upside price action too. It can just be slow. And there's a number of other things that I don't even know if he covers: OTC desks, over-the-counter trading desks, and just other ways that you can obfuscate the price action and make it look weaker than it really is and keep from moving the price. But there's ways to do it. Eventually, though, you have a volcano eventually.
But hedge by shorting MSTR. As the stock rises, they short more. When the notes convert, it's just more equity issuance. In both cases, equity and convertibles, the dollars that flow into Bitcoin are first pulled out of a Bitcoin proxy, MSTR shares. No net new inflow into the asset itself. This is also similar to what we saw when the spot ETFs launched. Yes, billions flowed into BlackRock and Fidelity's Bitcoin ETFs, but billions also flowed out of GBTC, whose high fees push people to switch. So yes, those ETFs were accumulating Bitcoin, but much of it was just moving from Grayscale to BlackRock and Fidelity, from A to B, not new demand. So what moves the price? Capital entering Bitcoin without exiting another Bitcoin proxy. Apple buying Bitcoin.
And to be clear, I do agree with him on this, not probably to the level of conviction that he has for it. I think it's to a lesser degree than what he's talking about, but I do agree with it.
Sovereign wealth fund buying Bitcoin, someone selling their house, their bonds, or reallocating savings directly into Bitcoin. Even STRK and STRF are closer to that. None of this is to diminish what MicroStrategy is doing. Their strategy is brilliant. Saylor is a world-class Bitcoin educator. Yep. But from a market impact perspective, these billion-dollar buys are more nuanced than they probably appear. If anything, I think this shows how bullish STRF is for Bitcoin. STRF buyers are likely fairly different from MSTR buyers. One wants purely fixed income, another one wants leveraged Bitcoin exposure. If Saylor can begin aggressively capturing the fixed income market and buying Bitcoin, that could actually bring in new dollars, acquire new Bitcoin.
I mean, yeah, the concept of new dollars is a little bit off, in my opinion, on what he's talking about. Because you are getting new dollars when people are buying MicroStrategy stock or convertible bonds or whatever it is, and then they're buying Bitcoin. It's just they're working really hard not to move the price and have impact with it.
Bitcoin and potentially send the price of Bitcoin parabolic. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.
But there's really good points in there on all of it, and I like it. Indian public company Jet King plans to acquire 135 Bitcoin, another company, this time in India. Josh Mann, let's listen to our boy here. He's got some really good points on this. Bitcoin and MSTR are probably going to be the NGU mode for a while, but one day they'll turn around. The thing that keeps such volatile instruments from absolute free fall is the existence of shorts, which gives you that stutter-stop pattern even in a steep decline, like the gauge on blood pressure device. That's true, actually. In the past, sharp rallies were met with MNAV expansion, and thus shorts and MSTR began building. BTC JVS has been keeping us updated on the FTD status with MSTR, but the only way to trigger resolution squeeze are buy-ins. With the market not making any huge moves yet, margin calls are relatively tame and nobody is being forced to cover. He's right about all this. One of the healthiest catalysts which can spark a rally in BTC is a high MNAV. So what he's talking about is seeing MicroStrategy outperform Bitcoin is a positive for Bitcoin's price action, and I 100% agree with that, and that is what we're seeing. That is what we've been seeing. If you look over here, guys, let's just draw this line real quick on what we went to. So we are up 66%. We're down just a hair from that right now. 66% from what time frame? April of 2025. So if we look over and figure out that same time frame over here, right around, let's see here, April 25. So right around here. So let me just draw this on this little tiny chart over here. I'll try and find the exact day. It's right around here. So in that same amount of time, we've seen Bitcoin go up 3.5%. Am I right? Yeah. 3.5%. Is that right? Let me go back. It might be a little more than that. No, it's more than that. It's April 9th. Let me find it. I want to get this right. I don't want to just be talking out my ass. Yeah, okay, so it's way down here. That makes more sense. That was not enough. All right, so Bitcoin, 23% move. 23% move. MicroStrategy, 66%. Do you see why I say that MicroStrategy can be a 2 to 3x of Bitcoin's values and returns? And then you get a 2 to 3x bonus multiplier. I should say a 2.5 to 3.5 bonus multiplier with MSTX and MSTU. And then also the miners can have a higher return too, but MSTX and MSTU on top of the back of MicroStrategy, on top of the back of Bitcoin, can do really, really fucking well and outperform some of the smaller miners even. So what he's saying, though, is with that going up the way that it is, it's actually going to help Bitcoin. So let's go back over here and listen to the rest of it. He said, one of the healthiest catalysts, he said, with the market not making any huge moves yet, margin calls are relatively tame and beyond, and nobody is being forced to cover. One of the healthiest catalysts which can spark a rally in BTC is a high MNAV rich MSTR, because that brings out all the hedge fund ARBs. I say it again, a rich MSTR will pull Bitcoin up with it. Yes. Saylor is now defining the range of the MNAV as 1.5 to 2, and since he's never buying MNAV, he's clearly indicating that he has no problem selling at 1.5. If he starts selling below that, retail sellers have have to begin offering MSTM shares at an MNAV levels of 1 or lower. Before you jump to conclusions, let me tell you that if the company isn't prepared to defend one by selling Bitcoin to buy back shares, nobody will, because it will become clear that he doesn't think that each share is worth the amount of Bitcoin in the MNAV calculation. If the company believes in the calculation, of course, they sell their Bitcoin and buy MNAV or buy shares at MNAV 1. It's like a free call option unless you don't believe in the veracity of the calculation. What do I mean by that? Well, if we top out at 1 MM plus and then retreat to 400K, so he's saying $1 million Bitcoin to 400K Bitcoin, it will be the typical Bitcoin winner, but this time with hot money ETF buyers running for the doors. If the ETFs, APs are providing liquidity at MNAV 1, but the company won't do so for MSTR shareholders, it will be GBTC all over again. So here's what he's telling you. He's telling you that going forward, we're going to have some wicked upside on this, but he's warning you of risk where if they don't actually sell Bitcoin to protect their NAV, their net asset value, and keep it at 1 during the bear market, that MicroStrategy could crash like fucking crazy, just like GBTC did. When GBTC, its NAV was as bad as like 0.54. So people were paying for GBTC shares by like half of what they actually held in Bitcoin, which is fucking insane. So I do think that he's got a point here, that there might be a really good short opportunity on MicroStrategy as a hedge. I do agree with that, and it'll probably need to go out a couple of years. So you'll probably want, a 2027 hedge, dropping the price of MicroStrategy by 80%. So I think that would be a good hedge to have. I do like what he's thinking here, and I do believe something like, I can't remember if it's Strike or Strife that moves the least. I do believe something like that makes sense if you want to collect a dividend-like play, but not have the kind of volatility that you could have with this stuff. Man Mahindra, Jesse, hood chart, please. Yeah, sure. We can do that. Oh, and we've got data to look at, actually. Before we get back to that, remind me. Let's get in here. We got data. We got an 845. So we got Canada's global manufacturing PMI. It was 45.3. It was worse than previous, and it was worse than forecast. And ours is coming out right now, so we'll look at that in a second. But you can see the steep decline that started since December, where they peaked, and just how fast it's been dropping in Canada. It does not look good. It's not a good look, guys. Going back over the 3-year, you can see where these guys were in May of 2022, and they're deep in contraction territory now in a major way. So this is going to be tough on Canada. If you live in Canada, get the fuck out. All right, let's refresh here and see if we got our U.S. global manufacturing PMI. It looks like we do have a Rich Mantelli. Maybe he can tell us about it real quickly while I wait for the official number, which does not appear to be coming quickly for me. 1 second here.
Mid-month read, it gets downgraded by
50.2 versus 50.6.
And it's now 50.2, which
we're still in expansion.
Is ironic. It equals exactly where we were in March, so it remains the 4th consecutive reading above 50. So all 4, Jan, Feb.
So our purchase manager index is substantially better than Canada's.
March and April are above 50, but now tied. April and March are tied for the 2 lowest reads of the year at 50.2. And you probably noticed short-dated Treasury yields are down, once again steepening the curve. Main reason for that, a pretty interesting jump in initial jobless claims of 18,000, the highest level since the 3rd week in Feb, and over 1.9 million in continuing claims. So the data has been important. More data at the top of the hour. Squawk on the Street will return after a short break.
Beautiful. All right, more data coming. We're going to silence this real quick here. Switch to live. Drop these guys down in the bottom corner, and then continue on here. So I just want to make sure we got that data point. Let's look at the hood chart. Hood down 3%. So again, they had a great earnings, but they had quarter-over-quarter loss in revenue, and so I think that's hurting them a little bit. And it looks like, what do we got here? So we're down about, from the high still, we're down 29%. It had a great bounce, though. Look at this bounce from April 7th. We went from 29 up to 51. Hell of a bounce. You can't really complain about it if you're in Hood. I still think Hood, again, can get up to 77, maybe even 100 before the end of the year. I think that's totally possible. So I'm not bearish on Hood. I just don't It's not the same asymmetric bet in any way. And again, I've already made 1,800% off of this one. I try not to hold on to the past too much. Palantir up 1.3%. Look good. Let's look at MicroStrategy's chart real quick because I do want to speak to it. And again, so 66% returns versus the 23 that Bitcoin did. You got roughly 3x versus the underlying's performance, which I think is fucking magical. We do have resistance that will come up right here around the 440 range. We have another resistance that will come around the 535 to 540 range where we had hit our high before. But again, you're gonna get 36% upside, probably 100% upside with MSTX. By the time that comes around, I think that's an easy number. And then I'll probably exit some of my MSTX, a very small amount here, just a very small amount of cash, like I did the other day where I just took a little bit. And I think I'm at over 700,000 right now between MSTX and MSTU. But again, you could get 100% return here off of MSTX and MSTU. So I could be sitting at like 1.3 million on that, I think, in short order in like the next 1 or 2 months, just in that position. And that's going to be great. And then I'll sell a little bit, and then I'll use that to buy other things that I think are going to outperform. So I'll probably be looking towards new things maybe around that time. The 50 January 2026 calls are crashing heavy, 15 cents now. Yeah, they can. I think that's going to turn out to be really good later on. But again, short-term things move around a lot in calls. People play around with calls too much, and they lose conviction really quickly if they don't know what they're holding. But yeah, so 650 I think is going to be another one where I'd probably try and exit a decent amount of my trade. I'm probably 30% out maybe at this point, 30 to 50. And then I think by 800, I'm probably at least like 50 to 70% out. And then if we get into the 1,000 range, I'm probably 100% out of MSTX and MSTU by that time. And then probably just switching over to like something like an IBIT in case Bitcoin drops, or if in case it keeps going up, I can make money. And then I might end up looking at other things too, like maybe Strike or Strife, whichever one moves less. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yes, tell us when to get the fuck out. That's the goal. I'll do my best, man. I can't promise anything, but I can tell you this. I'm very aggressive when things are bad because that's what you're supposed to do. Most people don't do that. And then I'm very conservative when things are good. And so, again, most people don't do that, but I do. Amit, Jesse, is there a good way to forecast price of MSTX based on MSTR price targets? No, always look at the underlying. So I'm going to focus on Bitcoin first. I'm going to focus on MSTR next, and then I'm going to look at where these things are based upon that. You can get a rough idea, but I wouldn't focus on it because it's like Inception. Every layer deeper that you go down the rabbit hole, you decrease the likelihood of accuracy because it becomes like just exponentially an order of magnitude more complicated, right? To get exactly right about your price targets. So I'm going to focus on Bitcoin for my exit strategy. I'm going to focus on MSTR for my exit strategy. And then wherever I am in these, because again, there's some math involved with it, but then you've got, them using derivatives in order to be able to create a 2x on the daily. And then there's the price action. If it chops for a long time, I'm going to get butchered. If it goes down or up and with high volatility, I'm going to get butchered with MSTX. But if it goes up at a steady pattern or a lot of strength, like what we've seen more recently here, I'm going to make a lot of money, which, again, is why this thing said 66%. I don't know what I'm up right now. And I guess it's like 65 right now. But I'm up 106%. I didn't perfectly call the bottom on this. But, again, you can see where that 2x performance is taking off and treating me really good on MSTX. All right, let's keep going here. So I might look at some more charts in a second, but we do have more data coming out in 7 minutes, and I want to, so that was a really good one with Josh that I wanted to make sure that I covered. There's so many other good ones in here. South Korea's ruling party to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. That's if they get in. I don't think that's going to happen. Oh, here we go. So MicroStrategy, you guys were asking about this. I'm going to save this real quick under MSTR so we can talk about it a little more later. One sec here. So we'll talk about this in this afternoon's video. But I think Grok summarized the analysis on this one really well. MicroStrategy's Q1 2025 earnings under the new FASB rules will likely show a significant net loss of $5 to $6 billion due to a decline in Bitcoin prices with an EPS around negative $20 to negative 25. However, they will also report a $12.75 billion increase in retained earnings at the start of the quarter, reflecting the fair value adjustment. Investors should expect a focus on both the operating business and the Bitcoin strategy, with the unrealized loss being a temporary mark-to-market effect rather than a realized cost. And I want you guys to see this. There is no analyst that will do a better job than Grok. Okay? There just isn't. I want you to look at this. So, like, I asked it this question. I said, hey, how are things going to play out? It went through, it investigated, it did all this research, it looked at all these different sites. It says there's mention of the earnings. Oh, hey, let's look at new accounting rules. Let's see how they're playing into it. It went through all this stuff, asks questions, learns along the way, analyzes the earnings impact in here, does a bunch there, explores Bitcoin trends. Again, it just goes through all these steps, searching for strategy official X account to find out more, clarifying website URLs. It just does so much more than a human being possibly could. Searching for MSTR Q1 2025 earnings estimates, searching MicroStrategy's Twitter, searching X posts to try and clarify that it has a good understanding, looking at all the Bitcoin purchases to make sure that it understands how much Bitcoin that MicroStrategy had at the beginning of the quarter and at the end of the quarter, estimating the Bitcoin value at each, calculating earnings impact in regard to it, refining Bitcoin prices to make sure that it is in fact accurate, and then coming to conclusions, looking at the earnings impact, looking at retaining earnings adjustments, looking at operating performance of the company. There's no better source. If you guys want to know how to find the answers to things, quit looking at these other analysts that are online that can't do a fraction of what this can do, including myself. Okay? Grok will do it all. And there'll be times where it's not perfect and having a base understanding will be good, but you can learn so much here, guys. So much that I highly encourage you to start using Grok and understanding it better and better, because it will benefit you greatly. How do I feel about SEP? I don't know. What's the NAV for SEP right now? Let's ask Grok here real quick. What is the NAV for CEP right now? And I'm going to do deeper search because, again, I like to make sure that I'm getting it as accurate as possible, and we'll let this thing roll. And again, just look at how it thinks. Look at this. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Just look at this. Look at what it's doing in real time. It's a SPAC from Cantor Equity Partners. It looks like they had an IPO, or their IPO in from the SPACs. Like the NAV typically means the per share value of the trust account, which shareholders can redeem if they opt out of the merger. I'm checking the results, the latest financials info to find the NAV. The CNN link might have a real time data, but I need to focus on the trust account value per share. One snippet mentions 100 million IPO, which could help calculate the NAV if the share count. Let's see if I can find more details on that. Browsing CNN. It's literally going to go through here and just grind away. I'm going to let it do it. But this is such an amazing tool. I highly encourage people to start using this more. Let's look over here. So we still have ISM manufacturing coming, all the construction related data, and the prices, which are probably going to be a big component that people are looking at today. We'll only retain 2.7% ownership after the merger. That's what Grok told me, at least. Oh, that's interesting. Manufacturing PMI. So let's just look here. So again, everybody's talking about the sky falling in the United States, and yet look at what happened. March and April. Still not in contraction territory, even though we were from half of July all the way to the end of 2024. So 6 months of contraction territory, a few months above, and then just a whole bunch of contraction going all the way back to 2022. And so we're actually sitting pretty good. I missed buying SEP last week. Options till yesterday were $50 max. Today, 65 strike, but very high premiums. Yeah, it's not even worth it. I stay away from chasing, guys. We'll let this thing still try and calculate the NAV. But again, this is so amazing. Just look at everything that this thing is doing to try and find this information and then validate it and make sure that it's confident on it. Look, it says here, again, no specific information about the trust account or the NAV. I'm thinking maybe I should check the key statistics page for more financial data. So it's so smart. Has a low MNAV, but once the merger, it'll go to 4. Okay, that's interesting. So right now it looks like it's low, which could be throwing people off. It says ask me, but after the merger, it will go up to 4, and so you'll be fucked. You'll be at a really high MNAV, and you could see it sell down. That's the important thing to understand. So it's probably overvalued right now if that's accurate, and we'll let Grok try and figure that out too. We've got about 40 seconds, guys, and then we're going to get our our ISM manufacturing PMI and employment, along with construction spending and so much more. Let me refresh here. It's going to be a good day. Good day. Let's see. Mara's still up 2%. CleanSpark's up 3%. We're seeing a little bit of a retrace on Bitcoin, staying back within that line. I don't think it's going to last, though. I think we're going up today. I see no reason why we shouldn't do well today. And if it isn't today, it's fucking coming. That's all I know. All right, 9 seconds. 9 seconds. Again, guys, don't ignore all the bullishness. Don't ignore the monthly candles that we just saw. Will I hold the CleanSpark July calls to death or bail out if they don't move? I'll probably hold them to death. Probably. ISM manufacturing PMI, but I'll let you guys know. If you guys are a member on X or Discord, you'll know. If you're a member on here, you'll know. All right, ISM manufacturing PMI, 48.7, which is below the previous of 49. It's in contraction territory. They're expecting a consensus of 48, so we're higher than that, and a forecast of 47.2. So ISM manufacturing PMI looking better than expected, which again kind of matches what we saw from the global S&P Global Manufacturing PMI final, which was again much better than Canada's 45.3. ISM manufacturing employment, 46.5. That is better than previous and better than forecast. Interesting. Construction spending month over month was negative 0.57. They're expecting it to be a positive 0.2 or 0.3. Manufacturing new orders is a 47.2. That is in contraction, but it's better than the previous 45.2 and better than the lower 44.3 that they expected for their forecast. Manufacturing prices come in lower than expected. Still high, but lower than expected. Previous was 69.4. We got a 69.8. Consensus was 70.3 and 70. So we'll take a lower price. This is all a pretty good read, in my opinion, guys. This would be a good reason for markets to bounce, in my opinion. I love everything that we just saw. I love it all. I think it's beautiful. I think it's good. I don't hate it. And see, look, deeper search is still going 5 minutes and 6 seconds later. After 53 different sources, it's still investigating NAV to make sure that it fully understands what it's going to be and exploring press releases right now. Isn't this fucking amazing? Let's see. Gemini, it's coming. Yes, sir. Jason Salas, thanks all. I got a small position, $30 average. Might take the wins and move to MSTX or MSTR. Yeah, I think MicroStrategy is probably your best bet for sure thing. It's probably your best bet for sure thing. I am going to listen to Rick Schmantelli real quick. I want to see what he has to say about any potential revisions, because we don't always get that right away. So I want to listen to revisions. Here we go.
Rick Santelli. Hey again, Rick.
Hey, Carl. April read on ISM, all the manufacturing PMIs. We just received S&P Global a quarter of an hour ago. On the headline number for manufacturing, expecting 47.9, comes in better, 48.7. But do remember, this is the second consecutive read now under 50, although January and February were above 50. So losing a little manufacturing expansion momentum with regard to 50, of course, being that line between expansion and contraction. Prices paid. Here's a number we want to go down, but it's been awfully stubborn to the upside.
Talk about how it's lower than forecast.
70. So the good news, it's under 70, 69.8.
Yep, good.
The issue is that 69.8 is still basically some of the highest levels that we've seen going all the way back to the summer of 22 when you get beyond our previous read, which was 69.4. So you've had back-to-back readings that basically are comping to mid-22. That isn't necessarily good news. And it does underscore the upswing in all the inflation metrics. The issue here is maybe these surveys aren't going to be as accurate as some of the more harder data points.
They never are.
Now let's have new orders, shall we? 47 points.
Yeah, so we're probably seeing oil bounce a little bit today, which isn't crazy because it's actually really close to the RSI lows in the weekly time frame. Not the monthly, but the weekly. So when you see that the U.S. is stronger in manufacturing than people originally thought, and that prices paid are actually a little bit lower than what people thought, it's going to be a positive for oil because it's going to give some hope that maybe prices will get better and that there will be more demand than there will, but they're not paying attention to how bad China is.
0.2, better than
I'll speak to SEP in a second and the Discord. Give me 1 second.
expected. That would be the third best reading of the year. And if you look at it, it would comp to January. And finally, employment. What a week for employment. We have ADP a little light yesterday. We have the big jobs report tomorrow from Bureau of Labor Statistics. And we end up with 46.5. 46.5. It is below 50, and that would be the lightest read, well, just from last month, which was 44.7. We also had construction spending, always 2 months in arrears. This is a March number, but it's down 0.5%, which means it's now exactly the same as January, where we started the year down 0.5%. To find a lower number, you have to go to September of 24. Interest rates are moving up a little bit after moving down on what was a perception of a weaker labor market. And
So this will give Powell probably enough energy to be able to say that he's not going to lower rates in May, which I believe is probably the truth. That number, the probability of that is just insanely low right now. I think it's coming for sure in June. I think what he'll do is he'll talk about softening, and he'll soften his stance a little bit. We're sitting at 7.8% chance in May. I don't think it's going to happen. But June 18th isn't much further out, guys. So we're 6 weeks away from getting a rate cut. And then I think we're going to get progressively more rate cuts. In June, we see that the chance of a rate cut, at least one, is 65.3, and two, or 50 bips, is 5.3%. And so between the two of these, this is like a 71% almost chance of lower rates. And then we're looking at, by the time July comes around, we're looking at at least a 63.6% chance that we've lowered by a total of 50 bips by July 30th, and then a 5.1% chance that we've lowered by 75 bips, which is huge. And then September, again, it just keeps dialing down. It's kind of the same thing. So we're getting at least, the market's saying we're getting at least 4 to 5 rate cuts coming in this year, and that's a good number, and I think it's a pretty accurate one. Let's see. So we did have Martin Pilda was giving us information on the NAV. We'll see. I don't know if this one's going to calculate it right because of the merger. So it says no readable text in HTML. Let's see. Did this one bomb out? It might have bombed out because of the merger. Let me see here. Oh no. Okay. Key points. The NAV around $10 per share. Overview. Lots of overview details. We'll skip down to the bottom here. There's a lot. Conclusion. The MNAV on May 1st likely $10, around $10 per share with a potential slight increase. Oh, I was hoping to give it. It didn't give me the calculation the way I wanted it, and I'm not going to look at a share count because I'm too lazy to do it. But I do agree that it's probably 4 to 5 that Martin Pilda was posting a second ago. I think it's probably 4 to 5, which is too high. So I wouldn't be super excited about an asymmetric opportunity when you're looking at their Bitcoin holdings and their value of their shares being 4 to 5x post-merger what they hold in Bitcoin. I think that's fucking crazy when you can get Mara a little above 1 for the NAV, where it's basically close to their holdings. And I believe Fred Thiel is brilliant. Actually, I have a really high opinion on him. And then CleanSpark isn't as good, but it's pretty good. And then again, it's just an MSTR is what? It's 1.7, 1.8 right now. We could probably pull that up. Let's see here if we have that number. Nope, but we can go back here and go to advanced. And then, yeah, I'm sorry, it's in the 2s now. Wow, cool. So diluted, we're at a 2.2 NAV already in MSTR. This is exactly what Josh Mann was talking about, guys. This will lead Bitcoin's price higher. I fucking love that. Jesse, it might be correct. Grok, calculate MNAV, Bitcoin holdings, and estimated fair value, but MNAV 5 to 5.5 due to current price of 55. Oh, yeah, okay. So it looks like, thank you for letting me know what the price was on SEP. I didn't want to pull it up. So he's saying, yeah, actually, so again, guys, use Grok. Grok tells you that this thing's got an MNAV of basically 5x, and that's dangerous. And so that would be an area where I'd want to invest a bunch of money. I'm sorry, it's just not. again, save yourself. Don't jump into things just because they're the cool new thing. You'll get fucked that way. I do want to show a couple of miners, though, real quick here. So let's look at some price action on that, and then I'm going to bail because I said 9, but I'm obviously going beyond that. Here's what I wanted to show you right here, okay? It's this. It's that we had a downtrend going all the way back to November of 2024 on CleanSpark, and we're getting ready to break above it, okay? So understand that. Understand that we are getting ready to break above this downtrend, which is probably why CleanSpark is up 6% today, is because we're seeing this strong momentum. So we're seeing CleanSpark getting ready to outperform. And when it does that, it's going to rip your fucking face off. And so we're going back, guys, 5 months on CleanSpark, and we're showing you that we're ready to break out. I think that's pretty telling. And again, Mara is a huge one. I expect this to do well too. We're up about 4% on the day. Again, CleanSpark's up about 6%, but I could see us doing really well here too. We're making up for all those losses of yesterday. And you'll start to see, I think, MicroStrategy will go first. It will outperform first above the miners. I think that's normal. We've talked about that a bunch. But I do think that after when in between MicroStrategy bursts, you're going to see Bitcoin price explosion, and you'll see miners go along with it. TLT back in play? Not for me. TLT is actually down 1% on the day. I'm most interested in Bitcoin bonds, but I'm not interested in U.S. bonds. Not quite yet. Not quite yet, because I think there's still an attack vector there in case things don't go well with China. And I'm just not thinking that bonds are going to go up the most. It's going to be Bitcoin that goes up the most. Bonds probably become more attractive near the top of this next cycle. But I think this is enough for me right now, guys. I got to get to it. I got a lot to do today. Thank you guys, everybody who gave me well wishes about my pup. And I'm really sorry to hear about TJ's dad or mom too, and losing her. That's fucking horrible. Losing family is really, really difficult. But again, guys, focus on the fact that our economy is stronger than expected. Focus on the fact that everybody is discounting and ignoring what Trump has done, what Elon Musk has done, what Scott Besson is doing, what Howard Lutnik is doing, what Robert F. Kennedy is doing, what every other amazing person in their organization are doing. People are discounting them, and they're writing them off as fools, and they're anything but that. And they're going to make America great, and they're going to give us a golden age. And the embracing of Bitcoin is only helping with that. So if you really wanted an opportunity to be rich, you've got a once in 100 or maybe 300-year event sitting in front of you. It could end up being a 1,000-year event, and people are fucking bearish. Those people are idiots, and they're going to lose out. And I feel bad for them, because what they should realize is that what's getting ready to happen is we're about to pump this shit up. So you guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or actually, I guess I'll see you today for MicroStrategy earnings, and I'll try and get that spun up here a little bit later, maybe in an hour or two, and get it ready. And I will see you guys later, and then we'll be here for another, I think, celebratory stream tomorrow morning. Peace out, guys, and remember this, you gotta pump it up.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up.